going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Batman News Weekly. This is episode 205 in year 4, and we just got back from watching Blue Beetle. Now, as we normally do when it comes to new DC movies, we do our reviews at the very end of the podcast, and they are spoiler-filled reviews. So you're still going to be able to listen to the normal podcast. We will be like, hey, we're jumping into Blue Beetle, so if you want to turn around and stop listening to the podcast, come back, listen to it later, definitely do that. So we will warn you before we start talking about Blue Beetle in case you don't want to get any spoilers for the film. But for the most part, there's not a lot to talk about today. Besides Blue Beetle, the one thing we got that has, I don't want to say it's got the internet talking. We need to, I guess, continue a conversation we had in a previous podcast with Wonder Woman 3 talk. And then there's some James Gunn, Joker, and Margot Robbie talk as well. And that's basically it. It's been a pretty dead week. So, but yeah, Clay, what's going on with this Wonder Woman 3 talk, man?
Yeah, so as we had mentioned before in a previous episode, we got some confirmation that there was some sort of conversation with Gal Gadot and James Gunn. Patty Jenkins had completely left the project and everything else. And so we knew that it was going to be Wonder Woman 3 without it being Wonder Woman 3. It was basically the third solo film that Wonder Woman was going to have, but just not in the continuation of the DCEU. It was going to be the new iteration, which is in the DCU.
Yeah.
Since then, we have had some conflicting reports on whether that conversation actually happened or not. And a lot of people, because of the frequency of these articles, and I want to also reiterate, the reason why these articles are coming out all of a sudden is because Gal Gadot does have a new movie on Netflix. She is not promoting it due to the strike.
Yeah.
But other articles are basically did their press tour for that movie months ago and are now publishing all of those articles in relevance to the movie being released.
Yeah.
So that's why all of this information is coming out all at once. But a lot of these articles, like I said, are kind of wishy-washy on if that conversation actually happened. And a lot of people are seeing it really close to an eye-to-eye to what happened to Henry when he like, oh yeah, you know, I'm back as Superman. Like, it's going to be an awesome time. Like, we really are cooking things up, blah, blah, blah. You know, counting the chickens before they hatch kind of thing. And I kind of get that feeling, but I kind of don't. Like, honestly, when it comes to everything that is going on in Hollywood, I don't know what to believe. I feel like legitimately everything is on pause.
Yeah.
And I don't really think you can guess at any decision making right now because there isn't any decision making going on right now, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we had this discussion happened in the Discord because there are some people that don't want to see Gal return as Wonder Woman, and there's some people that do. I am on the boat of having her return because I think she's a solid Wonder Woman. And I put a lot of first of all, this news source that's saying that it's not happening is Variety. And a lot of people are like, oh, Variety's got a good track record. They do, but they've been wrong in the James Gunn era. And James Gunn even came out himself and he was like, hey, and this also might be a Hollywood Reporter. I could be getting them mixed up, but they're basically got the same kind of track record. And one of them, maybe both, had reported at one time a bunch of stuff. And Gunn had came out and he's like, hey, there's that report that's going around. Some of the stuff in there is true. Some of it is half truth and some of it is completely false. Yeah. So there's no guarantee because, again, if this is coming before the strikes, there's no way that Variety knows what's happening in DC right now either. You know what I mean? Because nobody should be talking to anybody. Nobody should be working on anything. And I doubt James Gunn is around as many people as he normally is to have leaks happening. You know what I mean? Because nothing's being done right now. So I'm not over here. I mean, I do think it's really annoying. Like, it is really annoying to hear a lot of this stuff. I'm like, dude, James Gunn, just come out and be like, look, these people are fucking coming back. These people are not fucking coming back. Stop reporting this shit and let's move on. Like, I would like that. but we're never gonna know until we get a new Wonder Woman or we get Gal to come back. Like, we're never gonna know. We know Ben, and here's the thing too. He flatly came out and said Ben and Henry are not returning.
Yeah.
He could have done that for Gal too. He could have done that.
He really could have. And quite honestly, when it comes to the decision on Gal returning or not, I am okay with both. I am okay with her returning just because I think she is a fantastic Wonder Woman. I think that she has really embodied the role, and a lot of people see her as Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
She has been in a lot more films before and since then, and people still look at her as Wonder Woman. That's just all that they see. And so I think that's good for her. Her career, it can be a plus and not such a plus, depending on, where she wants to go in her career. But at the same time, when it comes to this idea of like getting away from the Snyderverse, like, yes, there are good things about the Snyderverse. I was a big believer in it, but I am also a big person that is okay if for some reason, if tomorrow James just wakes up and it's like, you know what, I want to do a 100% reboot.
Yeah.
And does a 100% reboot, I'm okay with that also,
Yeah. Like I said, I just think he needs to be like, these people are coming back, these people are not. All right.
Yeah.
So if you see them recast, it is what it is. But we're not going to find that out till next year, depending on how long the strike goes, maybe not even next year. So it's going to be kind of crazy. I would be shocked not to see Wonder Woman in, like, you're going to have all of these heroes and not have Wonder Woman in Superman, like, that would be the best way to just kind of like kill that. But, people would be like, well, why don't they show Batman too? And so you probably don't want to give that away. But yeah, with this particular thing, I am gonna look at the evidence the way it is instead of believing the scoopers or the reporters. Gunn had the opportunity to take out Gal from 2 movies that he oversaw, and he left her.
Yeah.
So I would place, if I had to make a bet, if there was a gun to my head, I would say she's coming back more so than she's not. Because
I will say though, she was in the marketing of Shazam. And she was not in the marketing of the Flash. So one was used as a marketing technique and one wasn't. Yeah. So I think that is also shows true to, hey, people really like her and they have a positive note on her. Yeah. So that's probably why they want to keep her.
Yeah, and it was also too, like, I think she played a bigger role in Shazam than she did in the Flash. So you want to keep her cameo secret, right? But yeah, I don't know. I would place the bet that she's coming back. And I don't know. I think the one thing DC did most of the time was their female characters were really well received most of the time. Not in Birds of Prey. I don't count Birds of Prey. But like Harley Quinn, people liked Ratcatcher, stuff like that. Like, people enjoyed those characters. And so I think they'll keep Gal around. Let's not forget, if we're being honest, we know Wonder Woman did really well. She was carrying the DCEU for a bit because they were expecting the Snyder movies to make more than they did, which they made a lot of money, but they didn't make as much as they wanted. And then, Wonder Woman came around. They're like, oh yeah, this is a hit. We got to do more like this. And then Margot Robbie hasn't done that as Harley Quinn, but she just did it as Barbie.
Yeah.
So you had just made a comment right before we started talking, because a scooper that I am not a fan of, that has been wrong multiple times from what I've seen, My Time to Shine, I believe is her handle. Yeah. They have said Margot Robbie is coming back as Harley Quinn. I've never really thought she wasn't. Everybody's like, oh, well, James Gunn deleted his tweet that said she was coming back, so that means she's not coming back. Clay went ahead and said that after Barbie, she's definitely coming back.
Yeah, if the comment was, if there was ever any conversation of her getting fired as Harley Quinn,
yeah,
Barbie reversed it. Like, it's just like, hey, let's back the money truck here and let's make some money together, is basically what WB is probably thinking. Right now.
She's already doing executive stuff at WB, so she probably has some kind of contract we don't know about, or a contract they're gonna negotiate with. Let's not forget, she turned down Sue Storm. So, she's like, I'm not going to Marvel. So that probably means I'm staying with DC. And I don't want to be in 2 superhero franchises. So, I'll just stick around as Harley Quinn. So, and here's the thing too. Here's another thing that is off tangent, but ties to Wonder Woman. Margot Robbie said she wanted to have Gal Gadot be Barbie.
Yeah.
Because she was like, she is so impossibly beautiful. She is Barbie. And then I don't know why that didn't happen. I'm surprised she didn't do a cameo. I think they maybe tried, but her schedule wasn't working out or whatever. If they make Barbie 2, I would assume she's guaranteed to be in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like maybe they want to work together at some point because they both said really good things about each other. And maybe that happens in a Harley Quinn, Wonder Woman type of story. I don't know. So
I could honestly see Gunn making that work though.
Yeah.
It sounds really silly, but I think Gunn could make that movie work.
Yeah. And he loves Margot Robbie. He said that when they worked together. And he also said, "Oh, I'm writing something for Harley like right now." So is that the Waller show? Is that something totally different? Is she going to be in Peacemaker 2? Like, or was it something completely different than that? Because that conversation, I believe, was happening at the tail end of COVID. Which, side note, I hear those are coming back. Which, yeah, that sucks. So, that's I don't know what's going to be happening there, but we just wanted to clear that up because we kind of had that conversation. We were actually going back and forth, like, did we talk about this? But I believe we were like, oh, Margot. I mean, I think we had got the confirmation that Wonder Woman 3 was going to happen or possibly going to happen, but it is what it is. And then, we wanted to clear this up because now a lot of people are like, well, now she's not coming back. But I'm like, I would bet that she is. Until James Gunn says otherwise, I am going to believe that Gal Gadot will be coming back, along with Margot Robbie as well. The other thing Gunn randomly talked about, and I guess I didn't see a lot of
nowhere.
Yeah,
there was no context for this tweet whatsoever.
Yeah, I didn't really see it like going crazy though, like some of the other stuff he said.
Yeah,
but he randomly made like, what is the original movie that he was talking about?
It's The Man Who Laughs.
Yeah, okay.
It's based off a novel. The movie was made in 1928, and he just gave a history lesson. On this novel / movie, and he shared 4 screenshots. It's a silent romantic melodramatic movie. And the person that portrays this character, the Man Who Laughs, is very Joker-like, and that's because he even says here, Bill Finger, Kane, and Jerry Robinson couldn't agree on much, but they all agreed that Veidt's portrayal was the inspiration for the Joker in the comics. So, like, just random fun facts about DC. I would like a little bit more of this. And of course, like, the Joker is a very popular character, so like it's gonna get a lot of hits. But if you give me more of these fun facts, like, I think that's going to give more validity to people who are kind of iffy on this whole new reboot, or are not necessarily the people who are the hardcore Snyder fans that just hate the idea, but more so the people who left the idea of like DC is probably never going to get good again, and now they're seeing James Gunn do this type of stuff. They're like, oh, now it's in good hands. Like, I think this could be a good weird way to promote his future DC work.
Yeah, he did just promote the Historia story from, for Wonder Woman that was done by Kelly Sue DeConnick, I believe is her name. And that went from apparently like 63 on Amazon's comic book list to number 1. So, which was pretty crazy. I did enjoy that Kelly was all like, hey, this is awesome, but if you can't find it on Amazon, you should call up your local comic book store. And so she kind of shifted it to like, hey, support comic shops, which I think is really cool. Which, speaking of that, I need to go pick up my One Bad Day book set tomorrow because they called me. But so I thought that was really cool. I am curious if I hope he's just kind of tweeting that out, and I hope that's not what they're going to build Wonder Woman off of, because we don't know what the Paradise Island thing's gonna be.
And that was for me, whenever I saw this tweet, the question then came to me, like, this Man Who Laughs being a silent romantic melodrama really comes off as like almost horror-esque.
Yeah.
Just because of the vibes. My question to you is, I did have one question, but I already know the answer to it, which was going to be, should the Joker be retired? Just because we've already had this discussion. We think he should be because he's in too many things.
Mm-hmm.
But what kind of genre of Batman film do you want to see the Joker come into first? Like, I think you've answered this kind of thing before, but do you want to see like the return of like the Jack Nicholson like silliness Joker, or do you want to see like an almost horror scary Joker? Like where do you want to go? Where do you want to see Joker go in the DCU?
I am tired of psychopathic Joker. I want comedy Joker that is also crazy. Like as much as I love the Dark Knight Joker, that Joker wasn't really funny. He was like subtle funny, like when I don't know, I forget the line, but it's like one of my favorite lines when he's in the when they're in the hospital bed and like he's talking to Two-Face and he's like, "Are you crazy?" I'm like, "Oh no. I think it's in the when he has the grenades like on his jacket and he's like, "Are you crazy?" And he's like, "Yeah." Like something like that.
Well,
I really the way he says that.
He said he's because he's like, "Are you insane?" He's like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Like, he just kind of like
the subtleness is where the comedy lies with that. But I want the ridiculous, like, I'll slap you across the face with a fish Joker. But I want him to be able to, on a dime, switch to the crazy, I will kill you and your family Joker. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be able to, you have to get a really good actor that can play both. And so that's what I want to see. Instead of just like, I'm already over the creepiness. I think Joaquin's performance was amazing. I don't need that in the DCU. I want the animated series Joker, because that Joker was scary, but also funny. I want him to laugh maniacally riding a rocket, into the sky. Like, just kind of ridiculousness. I've said this before on the podcast. I don't want any more villain films. I don't need anti-hero films either. You know what I mean? You might be able to make Red Hoods work, but I don't really care. Like, I just want heroes going against villains. And if you want to tell a villain story, you tell that inside that hero story. You know what I mean? I know a lot of people talk shit about like Black Panther's effects in the first movie, but fucking the story for the villain was great. I thought he was awesome. So like, that's how you do it. Like, but I don't know. I just don't want villain films anymore. I hope that's not what's going to happen in the DCU. I think Gunn's a little bit better about that than anything, but who knows? I mean, maybe we get those in the animated stuff. Like, we still don't really know where things are going. We won't know until Creature Commandos comes out and we get that first movie, which is going to be Superman Legacy, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see. But yeah, I don't know. That was a really odd tease, but I made a comment in the Discord saying that, if it's just for the sake of comics, I feel like DC will try to keep Gunn around just for that, because he's selling comics like crazy by just tweeting stuff out.
Yeah, he even said in one of his tweets, it was like number 60 something in he says right here. Oh wait, no, hold on. It says it was 63 on Amazon's DC book list.
Yeah.
All the way to number 1 in less than 24 hours.
Yeah.
Which is insane. He has done this back to back with things like The Authority, Superman, All-Star Superman.
Yeah.
He has done this several times. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. It has happened time and time again. You made the joke. It's like, hey, if anything else, they'll keep Gunn just for selling comics.
Yeah.
And honestly, DC needs it. There has been time and time again where we hear that like DC is not doing well in profits. And with this, like, don't get me wrong, a lot of these people are purchasing it to probably try to resell it and sell it for big bucks. And like, oh, look, this is going to be the story for the new movie. Who wants it type thing. But there are genuine people who are going out and buying it for their collections. I know a couple of them.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good thing. I hope that, like, I haven't read this story. I've heard great things about Historia before. I have it's Kelly Sue DeConnick over at DC has been a hit or a miss with me.
Yeah.
Particularly her Aquaman story. Some issues were really, really great, and then some just were not good at all. This one was a really big hit for DC though, and Black Label. So I'm eager to see how Gunn is going to translate it into his DCU.
Yeah, I haven't got to read it. I am scared that it'll be one of those takes on Wonder Woman where they use the old-timey dialogue and all that jazz. And I'm just like, ugh, I hate reading Wonder Woman stories like that. That try to be like Greek mythology and all that.
It's the same, honestly, it's the same for Jason Aaron over on Thor. Which that's also some news. Jason Aaron is coming back to DC in I don't know how many years. And he's writing a Batman story.
Yeah, they always come back for Batman.
But he always did like the Nordic talk for Thor, and people hated it.
Yeah, so. It's just not like, it's cool if you're doing a movie or something like that, you know, but reading it is not entertaining. Like, what you do is you make it normal. You do normal dialogue, and then you put the parentheses in Nordic. Like, that's all you got to do.
Yeah, and I mean, let's face it, you're also dyslexic, so it's even harder for you.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to do any of this bullshit. Like when they do it in, you don't get real Russian and shit, right? Like, and they just says translated from Russian. Like that's what you do, and you got to make it entertaining for people to understand. Like I was super pissed recently. I wasn't super pissed, but it was annoying. I'm reading Chainsaw Man currently, and there's just one moment where somebody starts talking in a different language. And I'm like, oh, what the fuck? I was like, I know this is already translated from Japanese to American, but you're translating it from Japanese to this different language I can't fucking read. So there's like 5 pages. I don't know what the hell they said. And I was like, I'm not reading it like, I'm reading it digitally, but I don't think I have the option to translate
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, whatever. So yeah, it's kind of it gets kind of annoying, but it is what it is. Anyways, so yeah, that's kind of everything we got. Besides, for all the Dark Knight fans out there, I know there's a lot of bros out there that think it's the greatest movie of all time. Well, if we're going by the numbers, it is now the number 2 greatest movie of all time domestically, because Barbie has dethroned it at Warner Brothers. It has had the title since it came out, or since its first run or whatever. And it was the best thing Warner Brothers had done domestically, but Barbie has now destroyed that. So, yeah.
I am curious to see by how much it's going to eventually like beat it when it's finished its theatrical run.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty sure Barbie and Oppenheimer have extended their runs. So
insane. Yeah. Even Oppenheimer is now officially the top grossing rated R film.
Yeah, it's I think it's crossing, it either just crossed or it's going to cross 700 million.
Yeah.
So, wait, R-rated film at Paramount? Because it ain't at WB.
I think I think it's domestically.
Oh, domestically, yeah, maybe. It can't, there's no way it's the number 1 because Joker
is number 1, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know, pretty interesting. But yeah, Barbie reigns supreme. If you guys haven't seen Barbie, it's a good film. Go fucking watch it.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's awesome. But anyways, that's all we got really for news stuff. So we're going to move over to viewer questions. Then we're going to do comics because we got a few of those. And then, oh, wait, I forgot to talk about the most engaging story that happened this week. I was know if
you were going to bring it up.
I forgot. I had to look. So there was rumors apparently on Twitter about Lex Luthor's casting for Superman Legacy. And a lot of people were either trolling or believing this and having to ask James Gunn, because an article said adult superstar Jonny Sins is joining James Gunn's Superman Legacy as Lex Luthor officially, ? No, we aren't talking about a porn parody. And so, yeah, there's a lot of people out here that were believing this article. that Jonny Sins was going to be Lex Luthor. He's played many great roles in his lifetime. He's been a doctor. He's been an astronaut. He's been a plumber. He's a chameleon. He's a chameleon. But a lot of people were sending this to James Gunn. He was like, "You guys can't be fucking serious."
Like, why would you believe this?
Yeah,
dude. Like, oh man,
and
it's so good though. It's like there's sometimes where you just lose hope in humanity, like with things like this. But at the same time, you're like, internet, never change, please. Like, just like,
yeah, there's like that. I find that funny, but at the same time, when I really sit with it, I'm just like, are people really that stupid?
yeah.
Like, you want to know one thing that's annoying me right now? That I find funny because I'm like, oh my God, that's so like people are so oblivious and will believe anything. The one thing that's really annoying me right now is because the trailer just came out, Scott Pilgrim. Everybody's like, oh, so we're cheering a pedophile now? And I'm like, oh, here we go, dude. And so like everybody's like, Scott Pilgrim's a pedophile. Like he's a pedophile. Like he's dating. I don't know. The girl's 16 or 17 in this show. I forget, or the movie or something like that.
She is, I think
she's in high school.
She's in high school going into her senior year. So she's either 16 going on 17 or 17 going on 18.
Yeah. And he's 22, I think, in the show. So everybody's like, he's a pedophile. He's a pedophile. And I'm just like, I was like, I don't even want to get into the conversations about like, I was like, first of all, you're not supposed to like Scott Pilgrim. Like, he's not a good guy in the
he's
show.
not.
Like, he's not a good guy. As much as the cool pow-pows and all the, protagonist stuff, like at his core, he's a bad guy. And that's part of the story. Like, he realizes that. He's like, oh, I'm not a good guy. And he's under the guise that he thinks he is. And but I don't know. I've been seeing that lately, and I saw like a lot of people. Oh, they're trying to cancel now. They're trying to cancel. I saw this article that because I think it is a lot of Gen Z. They're just like, we're gonna cancel everybody and everybody for everything and call out anybody. But I don't want to throw that on all of Gen Z, but you're not really hearing it from millennials. So like, who else is it? Gen Alpha. Y'all can blame Gen Alpha if y'all want to do that. But the thing is, they're starting to cancel Dorothy. I forget the actor's name, because when she made Wizard of Oz, she also did like blackface in one of the things.
Yes. Judy Garland.
I think it's her name, right? I'm terrible with names, but I saw that on Twitter, and then everybody's like, y'all are not about to cancel Judy Garland because apparently she went on and did really good things with the Civil Rights Act and gay movement and all that kind of stuff like that. So like, y'all are not about to do this. Like, y'all really need to start researching shit. Because she was in a contract that she had to abide by, and she was a child. So they're like, children just did whatever they were told in Hollywood. They didn't have a say so. They didn't have a way to speak up. Like, how old is the Wizard of Oz? 50s, 40s? I don't know. I forget how old it is. 60s,
50s, I believe.
Yeah. So like, I see that. Like a lot of people are like, dude, y'all need to fucking start doing research, which I've been on that train for a long time. I said I got off the cancel culture train when they canceled Jenna Marbles. Like, I was done. I was like, I don't believe in this shit anymore. It's fucking, people don't do research. People don't care about the way the person is now. I'm cool with calling people out on their past.
Oh, like, don't get me wrong. Like, if there's somebody who needs to be called out, call them out. But like, don't call somebody out just because somebody said, hey, you need to call this person out.
Yeah. Well, it's also about context, right? Like, I think it matters. Like, you got to think about the era that they grew up in. You know, you got to think about what was okay during that era. And you'd be like, yeah, it was bad that they said that stuff, but it was also everybody was doing that. Like,
exactly. And you have to look at what they're doing today, not like what they're doing 10 years, prior.
And I feel like there are so many people that do good things in this world. And if you're like, oh, if you define them by their past, then they're just like, well, I'm just going to be a hermit now. I'm just going to shut off and not do anything. And then you're just losing the good people that are doing good shit. And you're left with the people that don't give a fuck. And you're like, oh yeah, you had all those good people. But
I just recently, it's funny that you mention her. I was scrolling through TikTok the other day and I saw old like clips from Jenna Marbles. I'm just like, God damn it. Like,
she's fantastic.
She's just gone now.
Yeah. She has not come back. I think she would have the biggest comeback ever though, if she did decide to come back. But speaking of TikTok, bro, that website has went to hell.
Dude,
It's so bad.
you like I think it was literally one of your streams that you were just like, holy shit, I just opened this app and somebody was sitting on my face. Like,
Yeah, it's crazy. So I've been slowly working on the new channel, and I'm like, I need a 5th video to make. I'm going to talk about how bad TikTok is, because when I stopped doing my channel, I stopped doing TikTok too. And so I've been off of TikTok for a year. I recently came back because I needed to download a video for another video I'm doing. And you can't do that from the website, which I think is really dumb. So I was like, let me just download the app and I'll just download the video. So I download the video, and like, yeah, the first thing I do is I have this girl sit on my camera or sit on the front face, and she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, the girl's like in her underwear.
dude, no. So I will say this. There has been, I think, for the past year, Juice, for the past year, there has been these trends of like how women can get away with flashing the camera, like getting away with the guidelines.
I see them all the time.
It is insane. And I'll admit, some women have gotten really creative, and then some are just not creative whatsoever. And they're just like, hey, camera, tit, okay, bye.
Yep.
And it's just like, what the hell happened?
And I'm surprised I don't see enough people talking about it, which is crazy. But it's like nuts, man. I was just like, what is going on? And a lot of it is like getting into weird fetish territory. Like those people that breastfeed, they're not teaching anybody anything. That's like a fetish thing. Like they're like breastfeeding
See,
channels.
you've said that before. Like you said that when you started really seeing that kind of content on TikTok, it was a while ago. I never saw that trend.
Dude, I've seen like 2 or 3 new channels. And the thing is, it's not one person doing it. It's somebody taking a bunch of videos from different people and putting them on channels. So they're like constantly uploading them. And some of these things have millions of views. And it's just like, what? It's like, it feels very exploitative of the children. And I'm just like, bro, what? TikTok needs like hardcore guidelines. Like, I am somebody that's all about spicy shit, but even I'm like, yo, TikTok, this is way too far, bro. Like, if I want this kind of content, I'll go to OnlyFans. Like, this is getting insane. Like, it's crazy, dude. So yeah, I might be doing a video on that because I don't even want to be on there. Like, it's so weird. Like, I'm just like, I'm all cool with the girl being like, look at my new dress. I'm like, okay, wow, thirst trap kind of thing. Yeah, cool. But some of the shit I'm seeing on there, I'm just like, yo. Whoa.
Yeah, it's not even a thirst trap anymore. And I think that's kind of like it. You could say that like the thirst traps were getting out of hand.
Yeah,
that,
for sure.
that the trend was going on for too long or whatever.
Yeah.
Some people made it really fun. Some people made fun of it, which was also really, really fun. I remember there was a trend of like the silhouettes that were like the red light and all of that, and people would make fun of it while like going into like the T-Rex costume after the lights went off and stuff, and it was really, really clever and really fun. And now it's just like the way the algorithm now works on TikTok. If you watch a video for longer than 5 seconds, the algorithm is like, oh, you want to see more of this content. Yeah. And so like I'm trying to figure out what this video is, and then I finally realized it's like, oh, they're trying to hide a nipple. And then I'm scrolling and I see like 6 more. And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, the videos I thought were nice and like harmless, where like it was like people in their normal work everyday clothes, and then they got into their like I'm going out on Friday night clothes, and it was like, oh damn, like this person dresses up really nice, and then they had like music to it. But now, dude, I have gotten videos that are just straight like girls orgasming as the audio, and like you can click on it and it's just a bunch of people using this orgasm audio, and I'm like, what is happening? How is this allowed on this platform? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
TikTok, like I used to just be like getting people having really bad Batman takes on that app, and I'd be like, oh, I gotta talk shit about this, like, you know what I mean? But now it's like I'm glad I'm not on this app.
It's actually kind of like difficult to stay on the comics side of TikTok.
I bet. I've been trying to like downvote stuff because for the longest time I kept getting political shit. I'm like, I'm over this. I'm fucking done. I was like, downvote. And then like, I don't know if I just like one cosplay video too much or something like that, but damn, like it's out of control, man. So yeah, TikTok is not for children. I'm going to say that. You should start having to say, are you 18 plus when you go on that app? Because holy damn. Anyways, we're moving on to freaking viewer questions, and I don't know if we have any in the Discord. I don't think
We
we do.
actually do not. So it's
All
all
right.
going to be on the YouTubes.
All right. First up, we got Eduardo de la Cruz. You were expecting funny? Well, no. Just who would win? Doomsday versus Juggernaut, Clay versus Juice, Sinestro versus Magneto. All right. Doomsday versus Juggernaut. I'm gonna go Doomsday.
Doomsday 100%.
Right? Because I think if he knocks off his helmet, it's GG, right?
Yeah, I think for one, like you could say Juggernaut is unstoppable, but like Juggernaut could still die.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you're saying Juggernaut can beat Doomsday, you're saying Juggernaut can beat Superman. And I'm sorry,
Yeah.
that's just not gonna happen.
Yeah. Sinestro versus Magneto, location matters. If you're fighting in space, Magneto's fucked, right?
Yeah, I think the absence of metal there, it has Magneto completely hindered.
And
So
Sinestro can just grabbing him a ball and throw him up into, and he also can't breathe in space.
Yeah.
So like I'm just like, all right, you're in a ball, let me fly you up, upward. So like I would go Sinestro there.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Sinestro there too.
And me versus Clay. Okay, here's the thing. Clay's got more mass than I do. So he can definitely, depending on
Guys,
how
Juice is a twig.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that to be completely like rude to him. He's tiny.
Yeah. I'm very thin man.
So but also I saw this more of Juice, we need to 1v1. I don't know what game. Like, I need to either get back into Gang Beast or
I'll destroy you in Gang Beast.
Juice will 100% destroy me in Gang Beast. I mean, if you're watching this video right now on YouTube, you see that I have been playing Battlefront 2 like nearly every single day. Yeah. And then Juice just stopped playing. And I'm like, God damn, the whole reason why I started playing again was because Juice couldn't play.
Yeah, I definitely will get on Battlefront here and there. The thing is, like, I don't know why I got it into Friday so much. Like, we used to have a lobby in Friday that we could fill up with 8 people and have alternate people like change out during my streams. And Friday is just such a simple, mindless game where you're running to collect things and to escape Jason. And I've noticed I'm playing with children. And so it's funny to like run around Jason and be like, try to get me. And they're trying to grab me. And then I have a knife and I hit him. And like, I'll start the car and go pick up people. Like,
because again, it's in the horror genre. So it's not 100% going to be for me. But what's the difference between Friday and Dead by Daylight?
So Dead by Daylight. So here's the thing with Friday, the victim, it's one Jason versus I think the max is 7 people. So it's 1v7 and your counselors or you're the people at the camp and you have to try to survive Jason. You have some maps have like a car and a boat to escape or you can call the cops. But you have to get the fuse to turn on the phone to call the cops, right?
Yeah.
If you're good enough, you can actually kill Jason. But you can only kill Jason by getting like his mom's sweater and by having Tommy do the killing, which is a guy that only shows up if you call him. So there's little things you have to do in Friday that make it fun. Dead by Daylight is 1v4, I think. There's 1 killer, 4 victims. And all you're doing there is you have to turn on these generators. And if you turn on enough generators, a door opens and y'all just escape. And like, there's no weapons there. You can fight Jason. Like you can get a shotgun, you can get a flare gun, you can get like swords and machetes and stuff to hit him and try to like beat him up. But you can only kill him if you have the sweater that distracts him and then you kill him with an axe.
Did you see the Dragon Ball Z version of Dead by Daylight?
I did not. No.
There's a version of Dead by Daylight that is nothing but Dragon Ball Z characters.
I haven't seen that.
And the villain that you're like running away from is either Cell or Frieza.
I would have picked Gangrel. Not Gangrel, that's a wrestler. What is his name? Garlic Jr.
Garlic Jr.
Yeah. But yeah, Garlic Jr. Because I always thought he was kind of crazy. But yeah, I don't know. So Dead by Daylight is a smaller group of people, but they have multiple different villains you can be. So like you can be Leatherface, you can be all these other types of people. Like they have everybody but Jason, I think it feels like. And they're very IP heavy. So like they have a lot of
Yeah,
DLCs
I
and
think
stuff
they
like
also
that.
had like the Stranger Things
Yeah.
characters in there at
They
one
just got
point too.
Nicolas Cage. So like
Oh,
it's
that's right. Yeah.
So that game has been a lot of longevity. Friday would have probably become that, but some weird thing happened with the licensing where they kept
Yeah, I
doing the
saw that.
game. Yeah, like they made the game, but they didn't have full licensing. So the person that has the licensing was like, you can't do it anymore. And they had to just fucking stop playing the game or making the game. They had they had an
That
insane
just
roadmap.
fucking sucks because you like if I had the license and somebody did that, I'd be like, hey, let's work out a deal. You clearly are making money from this. I want to make some of that money too. Instead of just saying, hey, stop that.
Yeah. I don't know what it is with people with those old school IPs, you know? Like I don't get it. Like why wouldn't you want your IP to keep living, you know?
Yeah.
Which is really weird. Cuz you know if Alan Moore had the rights to all his shit, we would never see anything from him. Like he'd be like,
that is so true.
You're never going to see it. I know a lot of people always talk shit about DC and being like, "Oh yeah, they're never going to let him have his rights back." I'd be like, "But Alan Moore would never do anything with them." Like,
Yeah.
you know, if Alan Moore hasn't already got into filming and like wanting to be like make movies out of his stuff, then he's never going to do it. I mean, like he's retired already. So they're just like people like that just don't want anything to be done with their IPs, which kind of sucks. But yeah, so that really sucks. So I've just been playing that. Like I'll be working at my job and I'll just in between rounds be like, oh yeah, cool. So that's all I've been doing. And tomorrow this new Chainsaw Massacre game comes out. So we're going to be playing that on stream. So should be pretty interesting. But anyways, so yeah, if it came to gaming, I've got a good chance. Depends on what we're gaming in. So really depends. Because I don't know if it's like that card game. Clay will probably kick my ass in all card games. I'm not somebody that studies card game. I don't study shit. I just play the game and I get good like with what I know. And then like it was funny. I've been playing Friday with my friend Flores, and I just recently learned that you can find out when people actually do things in the game. Like if they fix the car, it says on a map, and I'm like, oh. And he was like, dude, you didn't know that?
Making it so much harder for yourself.
Dude, I was running to the car to check. I would run all the way to the car to check, and I'd be like, oh, they got this done. And he's like on the map, like, oh, dude, it says they did it. And I'm just like, oh, for real? And I was like,
nice.
So, but it was funny because like he was like, dude, you didn't even fucking know. And just minutes before that, he didn't know you could look behind you when running. And I had told him that. And he was like, you didn't know that? I was like, bitch, you didn't fucking know you could look behind you. And he just got to stay quiet. I was like, come on, man.
Shit.
I was like, I'm not a reader of things. I'm sorry. Like, you know, I just don't read things. I just do them. Like Resident Evil, never read that shit. Oh, I know there's a whole story behind Resident Evil, but if it doesn't have any of the cutscenes, I don't know it.
All you know is zombies, shoot them. That's basically all you need to do.
That's why I don't think I could ever get into the Elden Rings and all that, because I don't want to read all that shit. I just want to hack and slash. I just want to like chop stuff up. So Final Fantasy is good enough for me, right? There's not a lot to read in Final Fantasy. The
story is basically always told to you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I love about it. Anyways, so yeah, it's situational based. So there we go. Moncray says, if you woke up as Batman for a day, just for a day, what would you do? The comical answer here is Catwoman. That's what everybody says on the internet, because I've seen this a million times, and I'm like, that would be my answer, but it's also the internet's answer, so it feels kind of cop out. But Catwoman, that would be my automatic answer. But if I'm Batman for a day, so you're Batman for 24 hours, what are you doing?
See, like a part of me says in the city that we're in, you can't be Batman. But at the same time, I feel like you can be Batman. It's very weird. Like it's big enough,
are we
but
doing
also
it in
too
our
small.
city? I guess. I mean, if we're being Batman, like we're being Batman in the real world today, what are you doing, right?
Yeah.
First of all, Jason Todd responds, knowing Juice, he'd smash Clayface. All right. Just because, look, I've been forced to answer that. My real answer would be Catwoman, Harley Quinn.
Oh, that's a great callback to the other question.
Yeah.
That is so great.
If I woke up as Batman today, I have 24 hours and I'm Batman. What I'm doing is I'm releasing a bunch of government information. So like I'm releasing, like I'm going hardcore. All these like politicians that are doing shady stuff that we kind of know that they're doing shady stuff, but we can't prove it or whatever. We don't have evidence. If I have the evidence, all out there, dropping all of that shit. Then I'm going to like the dictators of the world and seeing what I can do there, seeing how I can take care of that and letting their people take
there's
over.
always I love the quote in The Dark Knight of like basically Batman doesn't have any jurisdiction.
Yeah.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
And like I want to see more of that in comics, in all honesty. We know that he specializes in Gotham, but we never see him go outside of Gotham in a lot of stories.
Yeah.
So yeah, 100, I think that's the number one thing I would do is go after like the top 10 worst people in the world.
Yeah.
And
I'm also since I'm pretty sure I have the technology to do it, I'm taking money away from a lot of bad people and just giving it to other places. Just
now you just sound like Green Arrow.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm fucking Robin Hooding that shit. You know what I mean? So that's what I would do. I would do some shit that like I would never be able to do in this lifetime. You know what I mean? So I'd fuck up a lot of shit like that. Because then at that point, it's just like, oh damn, you know? But yeah, that's where I would go. Next up, we got Nathan that says, what DC crossover would be most appreciated? Aquaman and SpongeBob, Flash and Sonic, Wonder Woman and Final Fantasy, Green Lantern, Star Wars, Batman, Mortal Kombat, which hasn't that happened? Superman, DBZ. Much appreciated. I mean, Aquaman, SpongeBob has kind of happened, like Barnacle Boy and Mermaid Man.
Kind of. It's basically that. Most appreciated is really hard. If you've ever seen the Sonic movie, he reads the Flash comics.
Oh, okay.
Like there's a moment when he's like in his bunker or whatever, and he's reading a whole bunch of comics at super speed, and they're all Flash comics. Every single one of them. So
I don't get Wonder Woman Final Fantasy. Like that just doesn't.
I don't think it really jives that well.
Wonder Woman Game of Thrones. I'd be more into that.
I could see that. I could see do you know what legitimately makes sense? Wonder Woman God of War.
Yeah, that's probably a better crossover. Green Lantern Star Wars, don't care.
There has been a Green Lantern Star Trek crossover.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Batman Mortal Kombat, I feel like that's happened, but I'm probably just getting Injustice confused.
There was a backstory in the Injustice digital comic. There was a I think after the inclusion of Scorpion, I think was in the first Injustice game, when the DLC came out for Scorpion, they made a digital comic where he entered the Injustice universe.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Superman DBZ, I think, would probably get the most talked about because people constantly talk about Goku versus Superman.
I think it's just the two most pop culture iconic characters coming together would make more noise. Honestly.
Yeah, for sure. I would go with that would be the most appreciated.
Yeah.
Although I think you could make a funny fucking SpongeBob Aquaman show. Like, I think it would be pretty funny. Jason Todd says, would an X-rated parody of a DC movie help or hurt its reputation? Like, for example, what if the Flash movie or Blue Beetle parody was made before its release? These get made all the time. Where the fuck? Have y'all not been on the internet? Like, there's plenty of these. And they don't hurt at all. Like, somebody literally did one for BVS. And it was, like, high quality. Like, they had a Batmobile and everything.
I think so much so that, like, they, like, there was actually a conversation around it on Twitter that it became so popular.
Yeah. It was, these happen all the time. No, they wouldn't hurt because, like, the quality is oftentimes so comedic that people just laugh at it. You know what I mean? So, also, to be honest, right now, with the way animation has gotten so crazy, those parodies don't even need to exist anymore because the animation parodies are over the fucking top. Like, the quality animation is insane. Ask Overwatch and Genshin Impact. They're carrying those franchises right now. Alexis Barrera says, out of Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and Jeff Bezos, who would be able to become a real-life Batman? They all have wild feats. Mark Zuckerberg, because he actually fights people. So Jeff Bezos would be Lex Luthor.
Yeah, I think there is a meme out there where Jeff Bezos visited some sort of like techno convention and like
a robotics convention.
A robotics convention, yeah. And he had like two like weird robotic
Jeff
gauntlets.
Bezos at a techno convention would be
yeah,
that would be fucking funny.
No, but robotics convention where he was wearing like two massive gloves or whatever, and they were like, "Oh my god, he's become the real Lex Luthor."
Yeah,
100%. I think Jeff Bezos would become the Lex Luthor of the world.
Elon Musk's ego would not allow him to be Batman.
Yeah,
so he's just also. I mean, have you seen him? Have you seen him? He's the least fit out of the three of them.
That is very true.
He is not going to be Batman. Although his technology is probably the closest to all of them. I don't know. They all have different technologies, to be honest. Jeff Bezos could probably get a worldwide situation done faster because of Amazon. Zuckerberg probably has insane technology when it comes to the internet, like social media, all that kind of stuff. And Elon Musk just has like the physical technology, like spaceships and all that kind of shit. So they all do have different things, but I would say to be Batman, you need to know how to fight. So Mark Zuckerberg would be the best one. They all suck though. So it is what it is. And also, I think Mark Zuckerberg is a robot. So, you know, he's probably
a robot, a reptilian, alien, whatever people say online, all sorts of things. Yeah.
So yeah, moving on from that, we have Clay that says, which TV show would get the best reception? Anthology following different Gotham citizens. Orange is the New Black, but Arkham. Historical drama of Gotham through the ages following a single family lineage.
I like all three of these.
Yeah, I would say the historical drama is my least favorite. Actually, I don't know. It probably goes in that order, to be honest. Then Orange is the New Black is probably second. And then the anthology of different citizens. I like that because you don't have to stay, like, you can tell a story per episode.
Yeah. And if anybody has ever seen, and I've talked about it before, it's probably one of my favorite animated films ever, which is actually in canon to the Nolan trilogy. It's called Gotham Knights, and it's an animated anthology. All of these stories have different animation. They feature a number of different villains, that of Deadshot, of Man-Bat, of Firefly. Killer Croc is in there as well. So many different Batman characters in this one anthology, and it's just great. I absolutely love it. You can watch it on Max right now. It was featured in the, like, if you guys ever purchased that like 20-year anniversary of all of the animated films, it's featured in there as well. But it's great, and that idea of getting an anthology and each citizen like having a story to tell about how Batman saved them, or if it was a criminal, on how Batman captured them. I think that would be really, really fun.
Yeah. No, I'd agree. I think that'd be cool. But that is all we have for questions, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to move on to comics before we talk about the Blue Beetle review. So you can still listen to these if you want to be a part of that. But yeah, moving on. So we had about, how many books did we have? We had
7.
Yeah, we had 7. I feel like we can blaze through 4 of these because, first of all, Joker number 4, the manga, was nothing.
Yeah, it really was a whole lot of nothing. This one was the first letdown for me in the 4 chapters that we've read.
Yeah. It was basically him trying to get little Bruce into a school, and it's him going through the struggles of being a person that doesn't have an income, that's trying to get assistance, and just having to go through that. And he has to lie on his resume and stuff like that. And that's all it was. And, spoiler alert, he doesn't get the assistance he needs. And then Joker's like, damn the system, fuck it, and it's just like, kind of
and then it ends. Yeah, like this, it is something that is relatable, like I've had with the rest of the chapters.
Mm-hmm.
But there was always something that really hit comedically, and
Yeah.
this one just did not.
Yeah, I know going through the system when I was going to college, because my family was unfortunately in the situation where they made too much to get financial assistance, but not enough to put me in college, like a lot of people in the world. So I had to pay out of pocket, which really sucks, which I'm kind of grateful now that I'm older, that because I didn't finish college and I'm not like, tens of thousands of dollars in debt, which is nice. But for the most part, I understood it from that, And also, like, I've worked with people that are like, oh, dude, that have kids that, have multiple kids that are trying to get assistance. And they're like, I can't. So they have to work 2 or 3 jobs or whatever. And it really sucks. So, like, it's interesting to hear that. It's really, I haven't checked, but these are Japanese writers, right?
Yes.
I'm curious, like, if they learn that from the struggles of America, or if that's something that also happens in Japan a lot. Because I found it very relatable as an American.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm curious about that. So, although I do hear everything in Japan has a billion, like, piles of paperwork. Like, they are, like, as much as they're so advanced when it comes to animation and everything, I hear they are so far away from transitioning to technology. Like, they still use cash and coins everywhere. Like, they do not do cards. And every time you do something, it's like a mountain of paperwork. So you're like, oh, you want to open a bank account? Mountain of paperwork. Oh, you need like somebody to come out? Mountain of paperwork. Like, it's like, everybody bitches about that so much, I hear.
That's insane.
Yeah, I'm like, bro, like, you could do all this online, but they don't want to move over, which is crazy. But I don't know. But apparently they have super fast mega internet. Like, it's like super great. Like, it's just crazy. Anyways, let's blaze through these 2 books that were just unreadable almost. The first one being Punchline Night Terrors #2. This book, the artwork was amazing.
Yes.
I thought the artwork was amazing. The concept was so fucking lame.
It was so lame. And again, this might be because we are like losing a little bit of context due to the fact that we didn't follow her backstories at the, I think, where were they? They were at the end of either Detective or some other Batman book we were reading. There was backups of the overall Punchline story. And that's what led us to eventually read the meeting of her and the Royal Flush Gang, and now they're a whole group. And so with this, we complained about the first one also. So this whole concept with Punchline, I don't think we're really just connecting with it at all.
No.
The first issue was just like trying to be very intellectual, a lot of monologue, and it didn't hit with us. Here, she is literally fighting through the internet because, of course, this is, again, the Night Terrors book.
Yeah.
She is fighting internet trolls as well as a robotic Batgirl from the first issue. And, like, we do see Insomnia at the very end of the issue. But, like, at that point, I'm already checked out. Like, the worst thing about this whole issue was the very, very cringy dialogue that was like, oh, we need to put internet puns in here because it's the internet. And it was just bad.
Yeah, she literally falls through YouTube. They can't say it's YouTube, obviously, copyright-wise. But she falls through YouTube, and, she's fighting this creature, and, like, this is one of the dialogues. I'm pretty sure there's nowhere to land in the infinite scroll because, people infinitely scroll, through stuff like that. She talks about, like, the format of stuff. She's running through things. She, like, literally stops the plane, or she stops things at some point. Like, she hits the stop button. She hits the like button in this. She's literally fighting people with like buttons. Like, they're trying to be extremely meta here, and it's terrible.
Yeah, she literally tries to block these internet trolls with the block button, and
Yeah.
she's unable to get it. So she gets another button and slams the trolls with it. And just like you said, the meta-ness of this issue just kind of made me roll my eyes, and I'm like, okay, this book has lost all interest in me. We have been very positive over this event, and unfortunately, the books of Night Terrors this week have just been bad.
Yeah, hold on. Is this okay? Hold on. Okay, I was gonna say, I was like, was Howard writing this? Because I feel like Howard was pulling from real life, but it's not Howard on this book.
Yeah.
But it could be just any writer kind of dealing with this, because we criticize a lot of writers too, so it could be this. But just to let you guys know of how cringy this dialogue is, this is literally the sequence of when she meets Insomnia. She because she sees him and she's like, "I've seen better cosplayers. I'm not bothered." And he's like, "You keep saying that you're not bothered. You're not triggered?" And she's like, "Why would I be? This is obviously some weird gas or drug or illusion." So like, I was like, ugh. Like, because everybody uses the term triggered, right, online, and like, "Oh, am I bothering you? Did you get triggered?" And like, "Ooh, look, I won the argument because of that." And then like, once somebody says that, no matter what you say after that, doesn't matter. It's because they're gonna think you're triggered, and like everything after that, it's like, "Ooh, look at you, you're upset." It's like a childish fucking 5-year-old conversation.
Yeah.
And then it goes to like her trying to like, I don't know. Again, it's one of those weird defense things. Like, you make me sound like I'm one of those terminally online losers who spends all day talking about me. And I'm just like, I feel like the writer could be projecting a little bit here, you know?
Well, and that's this is also a big thing that is going on with Punchline. Like, she
Yeah.
became internet famous due to her trial.
Yeah.
And that had started to be really good. We loved the concept of like a podcast getting involved, and like
Yeah.
you actually could go listen to it and things like that. Like, we thought that was really cool, but they didn't follow through with it, and it fell off the face of the earth. And
Yeah.
so like, by this point, Insomnia is literally pressing the mute button, and so she can't speak, and like it's this idea of like losing your voice online. And again, it's just like, you've already lost me. Like,
Yeah.
you're going too far here. And this idea of this technological robotic monster Batgirl has completely lost its meaning by this point. It's
Yeah.
just literally there to be something scary within this nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, the dialogue was just bad. I didn't care what was going on. I said the art was great, but again, I said this the last time we covered this book. I don't think villains should have inner monologues. And again, maybe that goes to like, I'm tired of villain books, because that's kind of how you have to give them their inner monologue, because they're like, "Oh, well, we do it for heroes." I'm like, I don't want to know a villain's inner thoughts.
See, for me though, I think there is a special case for certain villains, because I think there are certain villains that we think of as like, oh, they're methodical. They're going to think like no other villain thinks. And so you might want to see inside of their head for a bit.
Mhm.
But with these other villains, like, it's not something that like, oh, what really makes Punchline tick? Like, I'm
Yeah.
not worried about that.
Yeah.
You know, maybe down the line when you make her a little bit more interesting and get like me to legitimately want to read her stories, maybe then I'll like want to ask that question.
Mhm.
But so far, I haven't been wanting that at all.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. I'm trying to think of like when have I ever heard like Joker's inner monologue and cared. You
Well,
know?
not necessarily like it's the same thing as a monologue. You know,
Yeah.
like, are we going to want to hear Punchline have an endless monologue with a hero?
If it's
Probably
good,
not.
it depends. I've heard Joker talk for a while, and I like what he says. It
Yeah.
all depends on like if you're hitting the character. I think Punchline just doesn't have. I don't think her character is solidified. Like, I feel like you could rewrite her whole origin if you wanted to and make it
Yeah.
better. You know, but I think like it's unfortunate that I feel like they made Punchline and they're like, we're making her for the modern era. And like the modern era doesn't mean you have to be terminally online, even though that's how a lot of people are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can still make a good character and not be terminally online. But I don't know. So that was kind of weak. The next one, Clay was trying to read this before Blue Beetle, and it was bad. And this is Teenie Howard is actually writing this. This is the Catwoman #2 for Night Terrors. And I gave up on this one like 2 pages in.
So this is really like, if we weren't worried about the War of Gotham before, I think we should definitely be worried about the War of Gotham now. And the reason why I say that is every other writer is taking a break from their books in order to get their main story up to par when the regular series starts up again outside of this event. And Teenie Howard was like, nah, I can handle the event also.
Yeah.
It's just like,
she couldn't handle Catwoman before this event. Like
for real, like I would have appreciated maybe a little bit more if you took the time to let this go and jump onto, writing your main series. And you could probably think like, oh, she's like setting things up for her main run inside like the mind of Catwoman, and you get a little bit of insight here. I'm not getting anything here.
No, this book was bad. I told Clay, I mean, obviously, I also don't like the art in it. I told Clay when we were talking before Blue Beetle, I was like, I didn't notice that she was missing an eye. And so some of the art just looked really wonky until I noticed. I'm like, oh, she has one eye. And I was like, I thought they were just drawing her really poorly. And so, like, it was really odd because I guess she has a cat scratch across her eye or something like that. But they try to give us a new, like, Joker in this, which is lame. His dialogue was terrible. And then there's just, like, a lot of Bruce and Selena in high society kind of stuff. And then these snakes show up. And I just didn't give a fuck. I didn't care about anything that was happening in this book. And then fast forward, because I don't think anybody cares about us talking about this, Selena takes a bite for Batman and like she's like dying, but he's like, oh, I got this serum for you. I got you. Don't worry. And she ends up waking up from her nightmare, right?
Yeah.
And then she's like, her inner dialogue says, my dreams want me to release control. My dreams want me to step back from the ledge before I destroy the city, these people, or the man I love. What happens if I've sown chaos that I'm not, and I'm not her? I'm not here to shepherd. What if the best Gotham could be is what it is now, demons and all, and I'm only making it worse. Once this war has been started, all I can do is have faith in why you started it and fight until the war is through. This doesn't sound like fucking Catwoman.
I don't understand what this again, it's supposed to be like thought-provoking, like, oh, like this is some deep shit from Catwoman. And it's not. No. Like, you're supposed to be getting, like I said, you're supposed to be getting something from this nightmare to make her realize why she has to make the decisions she's going to be making in this War of Gotham. But there's no context there. There's nothing there to make me feel like, oh, I get it now. Like, I get why, it says next, love and war in Gotham War. Like, at the end of this, I'm not excited for that at all.
No. You are giving me an event, a crossover event, technically, with two of my favorite characters, with two of my least favorite writers. Like, somebody wants to just annoy me, it feels like. Because I just don't... the context for everything is just bad here. Also, one thing that we're not... we'll be covering, I think it's next week or 2 weeks from now, I'm not too sure when it comes out, is Tom King's Penguin is coming out, which he has confirmed to me because I asked. I was like, is this going to be in continuity with Zdarsky's Batman run? He says yes, but you don't need to read anything.
Oh, well, that was one of the books that we were supposed to read. I forgot to read it today.
It's
the issue 0. That
Issue 0 is just all the backstories from.
Oh, is it really?
Yes, that's all it is. So you can
damn
catch
it.
up on it. That's it. So like you can read about the twins and all that stupid stuff. Because I was looking through it, I was like, I've seen all this shit before. I was like, this
That's
makes no sense.
annoying.
So yeah, that wasn't Tom King because it said Zdarsky. I was like, why is Zdarsky writing the first book? I was like, that doesn't make sense. So yeah, gonna be very interesting because Tom King is basically writing Penguin after Zdarsky did it, and is, I don't know, probably gonna make it interesting. I would hope.
Yeah.
But like, he says you don't have to read anything, which I find hilarious because I feel like Tom King's gonna be like, fuck you, buddy. I'm gonna do my own thing. You know what I mean? Like, you gave me a blank slate. I'm just gonna make Penguin rise again, which I'm tired of that story for Penguin. He falls, rises, falls, rises. Like, I'm fucking tired of it. And Batman does the same thing though, but at least Batman's fighting a bunch of different villains when he's doing it, you know? But yeah, I don't know what's going on there. Howard's writing, I feel like, has gotten progressively worse. And like, I know she got thrown under the bus recently by that artist, which that sucks. But she's still, I think, fair game for criticism. Because the one thing I will say is at the start, when she was towing the line of will they, won't they, I was intrigued by what Catwoman was going through at that time. I was like, okay, she's tied between two possible lovers, but she doesn't want to cross that line. And I wasn't really paying attention at the start until I saw people talking about it. And I was like, okay, all right, you know, Howard might actually be telling a good story here. And there was 1 or 2 issues there that were actually quite good. And I was like, okay, maybe there's a chance here. This doesn't even sound like Catwoman anymore. Like the last few issues haven't even sounded like Catwoman. I'm like, what are you writing? Like, what is going on? Your Catwoman from the beginning sounds very different. And somebody who's going to defend Howard might be like, that's called character development. They shouldn't sound the same. Bitch, she's been around for 80 years. Like, I think all the character development's been pretty done. You know what I mean? And like, granted, you can make a story and make her, you know, think differently and whatnot. It was partially a joke. But like, the main thing is I don't think your character should change that drastically over the course of your run. Sure, they can notice something different. They can act a different way. But this doesn't even sound like the same character from when this thing started. So, like, I don't know what's going on there. But not great. Not great. Moving on from that.
Well, really quick, since we're on the topic of Catwoman and Batman, there is some solicits for Batman 139 and Catwoman 59. These are the books immediately after Gotham War. You want to hear the synopsis?
Sure.
Catwoman 59. 9 Lives Part 1. The Catwoman we know has vanished. Selina Kyle is gone. She's no longer Gotham's fugitive. She is its ghost. After the events of Gotham War, Selina leaves the city a forever changed woman with a plan. 9 deadly missions, each one set aside for their certain lethality, only possible for a cat with 9 lives.
I'd be interested in that if it wasn't written by Howard.
It is written by Howard.
Then I don't.
And so here is Batman 139, written by Chip Zdarsky. You're going to love this one.
Oh, God.
Following the cataclysmic events of Gotham War, Batman finds himself completely isolated from his family.
Oh, that's never been told before.
Struggling to keep the rage of Zur in check. But he can't stop because he's out there, haunting the city, taunting the Dark Knight, the Joker. And the new Batman is ready to stop him once and for all. Mind Bomb begins.
Ugh. Sounds fucking terrible. I hate Zur. I fucking hate Zur. I will kill him in my run if I get the chance. Yeah, I said it. I will destroy that. I will create something new because Zur, the suit's stupid, okay? I'm just going to say that. The suit looks stupid. I'd rather him be the Rainbow Batman, where they're all fucking solid.
I would be okay with Zur if it was legitimately an alternative Earth Batman.
Sure. I still think Zur being around this much is fucking stupid because he was supposed to only be around when Batman is having like a mental break to protect him. Zdarsky's just like, he's always around. Batman, he's always mentally broken. So, like, he's here. Like, dude, like, this one sucks so much. It sucks so much.
It's too much. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. We're going to talk about Nightwing, but I saw the solicits for Nightwing Pirate is about to be a thing. They're going to tell that story finally.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just all like, man, how long ago was that? Like,
it was probably 2 weeks before Night Terrors started, so it's been a while. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
The actual story when they hinted at the pirate thing, that was
you know what? No. It was
because it was before the Titan stuff.
It was before the Titan stuff, which the Titan stuff took 2 issues, if not 3. So, and this is a monthly book. So yeah,
no,
almost.
You got. So remember, Titan started before he became the leader of the Justice League. So that's like 2 or 3 issues there. And then remember, we got the stupid, like, oh, the little girl, they go to hell and do all of that.
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
No. But the pirate stuff was way before that. So, like, it's been a while.
Has it really been like?
Yeah, because remember the big event that happened was the whole like not frontier, but like where every
Dark Crisis,
Crisis that happened. That's when we first started getting the Titans. I'm pretty sure that that happened before the Titan stuff, wasn't it? Because it didn't happen in the perspective issue. It wasn't that one. I think it happened right after the imp one or whatever, the magic imp one, isn't it? Yeah. It was after that, right? Or before that?
It was. Oh shit! See? I think it was technically before.
So it was before 50 then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a long time. What is this, like 50 something? Or this is Night Terrors, but like I'm pretty sure we're on like 50s. Like I feel like it's been months. Like months and months.
Wow.
Yeah, we're just now getting the pirate story.
That's crazy. Insane.
Now, granted, if you were to sit it in one sitting, you'd probably be like, "Oh my god, they sowed the seeds for this."
Yeah,
which is cool, but like it's only going to be beneficial for the people that read it later on. For us, it feels like a lot of plot holes. Still trying to figure out what's going on with his sister and why they're so cool with her. But it is what it is. For this particular book, we loved the first issue. I don't know what you thought about this issue. I literally told this to Clay. I was reading Nightwing last night, and I was like, meh, and I turned it off, and I went and started reading Chainsaw Man, and I read 10 chapters of Chainsaw Man instead of reading this book.
This was also a story that I skimmed. I was trying to rush through it last night. It wasn't as thought-provoking as the first issue was,
Yeah, the first one was great.
The first one I felt like really set a tone, and you're like, oh my god, what happened? Like, he killed Batman, what the hell? And this one was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it feels like they didn't have a story for why he killed Batman.
Yeah.
And like that's what I was interested in the first one. I'm like, oh, why did he kill Batman? And here I guess Zuko drove him to that. Like, I don't really understand. Like
that's what they're implying, but there was no clear answer for it.
Yeah. And like, I don't know. He Barbara ends up beating up Batman, and all the Batgirls show up to save him and stuff like that. He starts turning into a beast.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I'll save you, Edward. And he's like, no, I think we're good. We'll just remember the time that we were actually like teammates. Because Edward Nygma is in here. The Riddler's helping him out the whole time. I told Clay there was one thing in this book that I fucking hated. I enjoyed it, and then I fucking hated it. Because I like when comics or just books in general hint at something, but they don't tell you it. Like, it's only for the people that know, and I think it's a nice little Easter egg.
Yeah.
And what they did in the art in here, for any of my horror gamers out there, just gamers in general, there's a game called The Backrooms, where you can play with friends and stuff like that, and like you go through all of these different rooms, and there's like a creature that chases you or whatever. They drew Nightwing and Riddler I'm Scarecrow, not I've been saying Nygma, but Scarecrow. They drew them in the Backrooms. I was like, I know this game. I've seen so many people play the Backrooms. And I'm like, this is kind of cool, a nice little hint at the game. But then freaking Nightwing literally says, "Listen, buddy, if you help us, I'm willing to find you. If not, I'll make sure you rot in the back rooms forever." And I was like, lame. I thought it was just so cheesy. Easter eggs shouldn't have to be pointed at and told, It's
Yeah.
like Pixar. I love the way Pixar does it. Buzz Lightyear's in the corner of the toy room, in Finding Nemo. Like, that's what I love about Easter eggs. But it feels like a lot of people tell people to do Easter eggs now. They're like, oh, you got to put something like, people understand in here, but draw attention to it. It's like, that's not an Easter egg then. Like,
now, correct me if I'm wrong,
mhm.
because I think I understood the reference, because I think I know what the game is.
Yeah.
The back rooms is the game where it's literally just the hallways, right?
I believe so. And like, I think a creature makes a noise or something like that, and like it chases you out, but you're trying to get out of all of these different rooms. But
I'm gonna look at like screenshots of it and think and to see if I have the game correctly.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that is a backrooms. I believe there's a creature that chases you, and like you can hide and stuff. But for the most part, you're lost in a bunch of these rooms. Like, it's a bunch of hallways and rooms that
yes. I with the hazmat guys. Yes.
Yeah. Because you can like hide in lockers if the monster shows up. And I've seen people troll where they're like, "Is that a noise?" And they'll run to the locker and they'll lock their friend out. They're like, "What the fuck are you doing? I don't have any more lives." And they're like, I'm sorry. Like, it's just a pretty fun horror game. Fun to play, not fun to reference when you do it like this in Nightwing. But again, nothing burger of this book. Like, it's unfortunate that, like, it's like Clay said, a lot of these night terrors this week have been pretty boring. We didn't read all of them. I think there was like a Wonder Woman one and some other ones. But obviously the Batman related ones, kind of boring. So yeah, that's kind of all we got there. Did you get to read Harley Quinn?
I did finish Harley Quinn.
Okay.
And I think this is quite possibly the best book this week.
Okay, so let's cover World's Finest then.
It's because World's Finest, we talked about it very briefly before we went to go see Blue Beetle. There's one thing in particular in World's Finest that I hate.
So I thought it was stupid, but I'm not the Superman fan.
Yeah.
So like, I thought it was just cringe and stupid, but apparently there's a big history here that Clay's going to let you guys know. So just to set the scene here, this is a throwback to when Superman and Batman are kind of meeting each other for the first time. So, by the way, this is also the book that we said has the amazing cover. Like the the artwork on the first cover is crazy. Well, people are disappearing in Gotham. So, of course, this makes national news and it heads over to Metropolis. And, somebody at Gotham took a photo and Metropolis, the Daily Planet, got access to this photo. They show it to Clark, and Clark is able to read these mysterious, this mysterious language. And he says it is called Kryptonese. And as a viewer who's not a huge Superman fan, I was like, that sounds fucking dumb. Kryptonese? And I told this to Clay at the movie theater. I was like, also sounds kind of racist.
And it's the whole reason is because it is. Like, the way, just like how we were talking about cancel culture and everything else.
Yeah.
You can judge things for their past.
Yeah.
But if they have corrected it in the future, you're like, okay, we can get over it. They corrected things.
Yeah.
And that's seemingly what they did with, it's now supposed to be called Kryptonian language. It's Kryptonian. That is the universal word for it.
It sounds cooler too.
Every so often, you will find those random books that have the phrase Kryptonese. And very much so, it sounds a little racist.
Yeah.
And me being the big Superman fan, when he said, "Oh, that's Kryptonese," when I looked back at the language, it's not even Kryptonian language. It's not even like, I would have to go back to see if this is how they wrote Kryptonese.
Yeah.
But if you type in Kryptonian language on your phone right now or on your browser on your computer, there is not a single character that is the exact same as any one of these.
Yeah.
At all.
I wouldn't know.
And the reason why I know this is because I've wanted a like Kryptonian like language as a tattoo. Like I wanted like a word in Kryptonian on as a tattoo before. So I've looked up what each letter is. Like I can recognize it if I see it. And this, it actually, in all like seriousness, looks like almost Arabic or Islamic. It looks something like South Asian, like or East Asian. It doesn't look like an alien language.
Yeah, I just thought it sounded stupid. Now, granted, I don't mind play on words. I just thought it sounded really stupid, and it's why I brought it up. And then I kind of was like, that sounds kind of racist.
Actually, you know? Middle East Asia. Sorry, not East.
Middle
East.
Because the ease has been played on in Hollywood before. Like I think Chris Tucker makes a joke about it in Rush Hour, which is pretty funny. And so like I just thought it sounded really weird, and because I've always known it as Kryptonian. Like, that's Kryptonian. So hearing this, I was like, that just sounds really cheesy, like kind of lame. But then Clay was like, no, they changed it a long time ago because it doesn't sound good. And I was just like, oh, shit, I didn't know there was a history behind it. So really weird for Mark Waid to do that because he's been hitting on this book. This has been his good book.
Yeah.
And that was just odd. I was just like, I've known it. I'm not even a Superman fan. I've known it as Kryptonian.
And there's something else at the very end of this book that he seemingly changed as well, which is very confusing, but I'll bring it up when we get there.
Yeah, so we have Superman goes and visits Gotham, and he's talking to Gordon, and then that's when we see Batman. He also gets the idea. There's so many times when Gordon gets the idea for the bat signal when people do these flashbacks that I feel like it's like the Joker at this point. Like how he got the origin of the bat signal. Because he's like, I don't have a way to call him. He's like, it's not like I have a signal. He's like, oh, but that might be a good idea. Yeah. And so like they kind of do that. And then Batman and Superman, this is one of their more nicer meetings. Usually when they meet for the first time, it's kind of hostile a little bit. And like they're kind of like, oh yeah, let's hang out or whatever. But they're making him really nice. Superman helps him save some lives. We get some new characters that Batman's never met before, like Magpie and who's this new person? I don't even know if he says his name. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he says his name.
This person is
Spellbinder. Yeah. So Spellbinder and Magpie, we see them. Superman, Batman kind of save the day here. And, you know, they kind of talk like, you know, Batman's like, if I need to reach you, like, I'll get a hold of you. And so what ends up happening is we start finding out about the disappearing people, and Alfred becomes one of the people that disappears. And so Batman's like, well, I got to find Superman. I got to let him know. And he sets up an interview as Bruce Wayne to be interviewed by Clark Kent. And they were like, yo, he never grants interviews. So if he's asking you personally, you need to go. And so Clark Kent goes over there. Bruce basically tells him, he's like, hey, okay, Superman, so we need to go ahead and do this because I actually tracked all of your flight patterns with my super awesome satellite that I have. So I know you're Superman. Clark doesn't really like this. He was like, look, if that's why you brought me over here to play the sick joke, don't really want to take part of it. He's like, no, to be honest. And this was really weird because Bruce is about to tell him, like, I'm Batman. But then for some reason, they just have this panel here where Superman just does X-ray vision. He's like, oh, I know. And I'm like, that was kind of unnecessary.
Yeah, this has been played with a lot, this interaction. Of course, famously on the animated series.
The best interaction.
Which I do genuinely love the interaction.
Yeah.
It's you peaked first. Like I love that scene. It's so good.
I love the tracking part when he tracked him down to his bedroom, like
to his apartment.
That was awesome. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's the best interaction. But that was just like really weird. I was so confused. I was like, he was about to tell you his secret identity by showing you, and then he just peeks. Like, yeah. And Batman does say, he's like, look, I knew you were gonna do this eventually. Like, you say that you behave yourself, but eventually, you know, it was gonna, you know, you were gonna peek. Like, that's just kind of what he was saying. So they suit up and they go solve this new riddle, and they find Riddler. They go over there. And then Batman he becomes one of the disappeared. And somebody knocks the shit out of Superman. I don't know who the fuck this is. But they revealed that they were from the Phantom Zone. So we're dealing with that now.
This is Jax-er. Now,
Okay.
the thing is, the costume was very familiar to me because this is the wrong costume for the comics accurate Jax-er.
Oh, really?
This costume of Jax-er is the Superman animated series cartoon
Oh,
Jax-er, which is
okay.
why it like threw me for a loop when I saw him. I'm like, why in the world would he have this Superman animated series costume when he has a completely different look in the comics?
Yeah.
And like, if you look up Jax-er and say
Mhm.
Jax-er DC Comics, you have like the first 3 images on Google Images showing how he looks in actual comics. Then you see him in the Man of Steel movie, and then you finally find a picture of him in the animated series. Don't know why Wade decided to make this his like new continuity suit.
Yeah.
Like I liked it, but my brain immediately kind of like broke for a second. I'm like, why is this happening like this?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. And then he's kind of beating up Superman, and then we see that Batman took his place in the Phantom Zone. So yeah, that's kind of where that story ended. Yeah, I mean, overall, I mean, it was an okay story for me. Besides, I just thought the Kryptonese thing was really weird. Because it sounded weird. I've
Yeah.
never heard that as being a DC fan. But again, I'm more of a Batman guy. I don't know everything about Superman. So, yeah, that was kind of the only downgrade there. But yeah, let's go over and jump over to the final book that we have before we get into the Blue Beetle review. And that is Harley Quinn Black and white plus red, or it's black plus white plus red is technically how it is. This series, this is only the second book in the series, has been phenomenal. Like these mini stories. Now, I will say, if you've ever taken the chance on reading the black and white books for Batman, those are really good stories too. They're all short stories about Batman. They're some of the best I've read. And I know that they did black, white, and gold for Wonder Woman. I
Mhm.
cannot confirm if those are good or not. But usually,
There was a couple hit and misses there.
yeah.
Same thing with Superman. There was the red, blue, and white,
I
I
don't
think
know.
it was, or red, blue, and black, one of the two.
Mhm.
But it like these are anthologies, so they're gonna have different writers on
Yeah.
every single story. And some of them are brand new to the character of Harley Quinn. Some of them are even brand new to comics.
Yeah.
Um, there are 2 stories that I love out of the 3 that are here.
Mhm.
Um, one of them is written by one of my favorite writers right now, currently doing a lot of indie stuff, was a writer for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers at a time. But it's the last story.
Oh, the Gordon story.
The Gordon story.
Yeah.
Ryan Parrott wrote that one.
Yeah.
Really, really well written. Absolutely loved it. I think my top story in this is the uh, League of Super Pets and the Legion of
Really?
Doominals. I think
Yeah.
that is my favorite story in here. It is
Yeah.
absolutely hilarious.
That was the very Harley Quinn story, in my opinion, which I enjoyed all 3 stories here. I enjoyed the first one because of the message it had, because Harley Quinn wanted to redo her origin because
Yeah.
she was tired of people tying her to the Joker. She was just like, people keep associating me with the Joker, and I wanna redo. So they capture Zatanna, and they're like, use your magic, Zatanna, and give me a new origin. So Zatanna is constantly like, she was like, I want the Batman origin, and Zatanna's like, whoa, do you really want the Batman origin? Because Batman doesn't even want his origin. And she's like, just give me the Bat origin. And so we see Harley Quinn as Batman, and she goes and there's like this nice panel of her transforming into Batman. I think she looked kind of cool as Batman, to be
I,
honest.
I like the subtle touch of like the tear falling
Yeah.
down her face.
Yeah. So we have she goes to a bar because she wasn't able to get any respect at this bar, apparently. And she's like, I need a new origin. So she goes back to this bar and she's all like, give me my drink with 5 umbrellas, 5 little black umbrellas or whatever. And he's like, we don't have black umbrellas. She's like, figure it out. And he's like, yeah, okay. And like, he's like, she's like, everybody respects me. And then you hear the same goons that were like, they were like, oh, I think that's Harley Quinn. Like, can't even, she beats everybody but the Joker. Joker always gets the best of her. And she's like, and so she beats the shit out of them. And then she shows up back at the apartment. She's like, new origin, give me the Boy Scout. And so transforms into Superman. She's like, the H stands for hunk. And so like she goes and she's like going back to the bar and they're like, oh, you know what? That's Superman, but she's never fought the Joker. And like she's like, and she beats him up
goes
again.
back. I love this because then she goes Wonder Woman, and this turns into a 9-panel grid, which is, I love the way that they organized it because it's wacky and crazy.
Technically, it's
just
12,
like Harley,
but
yeah, correct. Yeah. It is technically 12. But you see Wonder Woman didn't work out, so she was like, fine, Green Lantern. That one didn't work out. She's like, and then she's like, you know what? Dealer's choice. And so Zatanna's like, Aquaman? And Harley's like, are you serious? Like, did you have to choose Aquaman? And Zatanna's like, who doesn't like fish?
Yeah.
Like, come on. It's great.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work out. So we eventually just see Harley go back to being Harley. Like, she's complaining about all these different things. And then Zatanna's like, oh, crap. Like, what did I do? Like, I've ruined this whole entire thing. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, Ivy says, no, she's Harley. And this is exactly who she's supposed to be.
Yeah. So Zatanna's like, Harley, I know you want a new origin. She was like, but the best I've ever seen you is when you've been yourself. And so, like, it's this whole story of, like, you've overcome things people haven't been able to do. The Joker was your ex and he treated you like crap and you were able to overcome him and be better. And she's like, I am. She was like, I was able to defeat the Joker and best him and all this kind of stuff. And so she gets all happy and whatnot. And so they're like, oh, I think we've created a monster because now she's like confident in herself, which I think is funny. So I think that was kind of cool. But moving on to I guess Clay's favorite story. Clay, you want to go ahead and tell this one?
Yeah, this is the Great Pets Spectations. This is basically a like a dog show. Is what it essentially is. But it starts out with it says Gotham's Pet Club's annual show, and Robin is representing the League of Super Pets. And out of nowhere, Harley Quinn comes in and she's like, are you freaking kidding me? You have this annual show. You invite all of these do-gooder pets, but you didn't want to invite me and Bud and Lou. Like, are you freaking kidding me? And she's like, oh, I even brought the whole gang, and it's the Legion of Doominals.
Yeah.
And it's the Squiddler, Bud, of course, the hyena, Lou, the other hyena, Barkside, Dexstar, the Red Lantern, and the Kowarla.
Yeah.
These are so clever, and I love them. And essentially, Robin and Harley make a wager of like who's the best team or whatever. Mm-hmm. And they have these competitions, and it's absolutely hilarious. The first one is between Crypto and Barkside, goes completely wrong. Barkside uses his Omega beams and completely fries the sheep that he's supposed to be saving. Crypto does it perfectly. The second one is between the kangaroo, Wonder Woman's kangaroo.
Before we move on, Barkside has like quotations, like asterisks for his stuff because he says "woof," but
he's actually like he's actually talking.
Yeah, it says Barkside is, and then he does another woof and says, "Do not concern yourself with what I've done, and rather tremble at the thought of what I have yet to do."
What I have yet to do. It was so good. I love that.
Fantastic. But yeah, the second show.
The second show is between Jumpa, who is the kangaroo, and Kowarla. And Kowarla is sleeping. And Harley's like, are you freaking kidding me? If I go to Ares right now and tell him that you're sleeping on the job, he's going to be so pissed. And then he like wakes up and jumps and he crosses the bar, but he still gets a poor like score. And she's like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, this thing is rigged. Something has to be going on. Why are we like getting so many bad scores? The next one is between the Squirrel Green Lantern, I can't remember his name, and Dexstar. and Dexter freaking hawks a freaking what is it called?
It's like an asteroid.
Like a hair, no, but it's a hairball out of his mouth, and gets last place in this race that they're doing. So again, does poorly. Then it's
this is my favorite part. Yeah,
it's Batwing, or sorry, it's Bitewing, and all of a sudden he just Bitewing. Remember, he is a crippled dog. He only has 3 legs. He's on a unicycle, and then all of a sudden he gets shot by something.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh my god, he just got shot.
Yeah.
Robin takes the paintball gun, it's paintball, out of Harley Quinn's hand, and she's like, what? Like, everything's put up against us. Why could something be against you guys? And then the next panel is the Squiddler putting out the bank accounts of the freaking judges.
Yeah.
Like, and like they're saying, before you write anything else, you're disqualified.
Yeah.
And so essentially nothing is going good here. The last one is between Bud and Lou and Bat Cow rescuing people from, of course, staged burning buildings. And Bud and Lou were able to rescue these dummies, but then immediately start to just rip them apart.
Yeah.
And like Harley Quinn's like, yes, they did it. They did it. No, that's not what you're supposed to do. Like, what's wrong with you? So essentially, like, all chaos ensues because Harley Quinn is just like, this is bullshit. Like, what is going on here? She says, what'd she say? She says, just because your ones happen to save a couple of folks, they get all the votes. It's practically bribery. Maybe your animals were even halfway competent. And this is Robin saying this. And she's like, oh, no. Continue. What were you about to say?
Yeah.
And that's when shit starts to hit the fan. All of the animals start to fight each other. And eventually, basically, Harley Quinn decides, hey, maybe I didn't need to force you guys, talking to Bud and Lou, to go on to this thing and try to prove something. You're number one in my eyes. And the judge is like, oh, wait, Harley, we didn't want you to leave without anything. And so they give her this trophy that is worst in show.
Yeah, it's like a big wooden spoon. And then her hyenas are laughing at her, which is the funniest part. So it was this is the type of story you use Harley Quinn for. Like, Harley Quinn is the one character that can be super serious and super silly, and she can get away with anything. Like I said, I've always said this. The only time you take Harley Quinn serious is if she's in like a Batman run. Yeah. Like, that's one time. And everything else is, continuity or not continuity. You just don't count it. Like, it is what it is. It's a good Harley Quinn story. But these are great. But the last story is a really good story because it's Harley Quinn having lunch with Gordon. And he's like, all right, you got 5 minutes. Tell me what happened. And she's all like, oh, come on. And she's like trying to, she's eating an apple pie or whatever, like a cherry pie. And she's talking about how she beat up all of these cops. And they're like, they had to come into him. And she's kind of just telling this whole story. And he's like, I don't believe it. And he's like, but, like, don't you know how it is? Like, you're not listening to me. You're only seeing me as Joker's ex. Like, you're not really paying attention. It's like, you listen to your kids, don't you? It's like, even though your kids have made mistakes. And he brings up a lot of her past stuff. That's what Gordon's doing, right? He's judging Harley off of not the truth that she's telling, but off of her past. He won't forgive her what she's done. And he's like, what about Barbara? And she was like, I didn't have anything to do with that. And he was all like, but you knew the Joker. You hung out with the Joker. And she was like, I'm just trying to make up for that. And they kind of start talking about Gotham. And she's like, why are you still here, Gordon? She's like, you forget that I'm like I'm a doctor behind all this crazy. Like, I have 2 PhDs or whatever. So like, I know a guy that's here for the only reason you're still in Gotham is because you have nothing left. You've lost everything. And so if you lose Commissioner Gordon, you got nothing. And that's what you're trying to do here. And because you could leave. And he was like, why are you back in Gotham? She's like, it's home, And they're both kind of like talking about this. And, Gordon is like, she says something that makes him question what he says. Oh, right here. But it doesn't matter. You aren't listening. Because when you look at me, you don't see a girl that's trying to make things right again. Nope. All you see is Mr. J's ex-girlfriend. Because this whole time she was trying to tell him what happened. Like they're like, no, these corrupt cops were trying to shake down the neighborhood, and that's what's going on. So Gordon, has Harley Quinn get taken out to the car, and there's been this waitress the whole time trying to clean up the mess of this diner where this fight broke out. And he asks her, he's like, so when I came in here, you told me that Harley Quinn tried to rob the place and those cops tried to save you. Is that what happened? Or is that what they want you to say? And so we kind of get the implication that she told the truth. She was like, no, they've been shaking down the diner and Harley Quinn actually saved us. So we have these, panels of the cops getting taken away. They're like, yo, boss, you can't really believe her? Like, seriously? Like, what the hell? And so, kind of have a little like heart to heart. And she's like, I believed you this time, but I still got to take you down for battery. And she's like,
about that. And you see that she's already out of the cuffs. She jumps over the ambulance and she's like, I said that I'm trying to be better.
Yeah.
Not that I'm good at it, but I'm trying to be better. And so Gordon's like, just try not to be as much in trouble as you were tonight and just try to stay clear of it. And he's like, oh, by the way, strawberry rhubarb is my favorite pie. And she's like, oh, okay, cool. Because that was one of the questions that they had in the diner. And she's like, oh, well, it used to be pudding, ironically enough, but now it's store-bought pumpkin pie with a whole bunch of whipped cream.
Yeah. The story's way better than we described it, by the way. I should definitely go pick this book up and read it. But these Harley Quinn shorts have been awesome. Like they've been really good. And I think a lot of times people don't give Harley Quinn credit for being such a good character. She is arguably the fourth best character in DC. Like they promote the hell out of her.
Like if it wasn't a trinity, it would be a freaking whatever the number is for, or the word for four. I guess foursome, but that's just odd. But like just like how they promoted James Gunn running the DCU, they said Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and Harley Quinn. They didn't name any other Justice Leaguers. They literally said those three and Harley Quinn. And it shows like in the range that she is able to have in comics and in live action and in animation that we've seen. She really is one of the most popular characters in DC.
Probably outside of Batman, probably the most cosplayed character of DC. So, I mean, I think those stories were great, but that was definitely my favorite book of the week. And that's pretty much it for the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to be reviewing Blue Beetle. So if you do not want to hear spoiler reviews right now for Blue Beetle, I highly suggest you click off now and come back and listen later. One thing we didn't talk about that was posted in the Discord before we move on to Blue Beetle was the oh my god, George Jimenez posted that Catwoman photo. I don't know if you saw that. It looks awesome. Unfortunately, it's going to be in the Batman book.
That,
we're not going to be super fond of. But anyways, Blue Beetle, ladies and gentlemen, this is your spoiler warning in 3, 2, 1. It is now Blue Beetle time. Clay, what did you think about Blue Beetle, man?
This movie, I think, met expectations. It wasn't like anything that was revolutionary to the genre by any means, but it wasn't something that I believe was generic. I think that it did have some highlights. I think it was really, really fun for an origin film. I do think that it was a little bit of a short movie. Like it moved very like the pace was quick, but it felt organic at the same time. But I really enjoyed it. I think if people are hesitant, and I don't think you should be, at the idea of this being a Latino-centric movie, then this movie is not for you, because it is all over the place in this movie.
Yeah, they I mean, but if you were to not watch a film because it involves another culture, that says a lot about you.
Yeah, it genuinely does. But in retrospective, literally, freaking Susan Sarandon is literally the only white person in this movie.
Yeah, that has a role for sure. Well, because there are like a bunch of side characters, like mini characters in there. Because like the girl at the desk was white, you know what I mean? Like stuff like that. But you're talking about like main cast members,
main
I
cast
would
members
agree.
with the most screen time. Susan Sarandon is literally the only one.
Yeah. This was I really enjoyed it, man. I think here's the thing. I found the movie very funny, but it's because it's my culture. Like I know what they're saying. I know what those things mean. I know like the way, the way the family talks to each other is how I grew up. Like I loved it. Like we were laughing at a bunch of stuff in that movie.
And again, just like some of the other movies recently, I feel like we were kind of the only ones. But
yeah,
like also one thing that kind of concerns me a little bit. I do know that later on today, literally as of right now, the time that we're recording, the time slot for the movie that we were going to Blue Beetle for right now, I know that theater is much more filled than ours was at 2 p.m. our time. And that may be because, like you even said, the whole reason why us going to see it at 2 p.m. was, hey, school is still in. We don't have to deal with large crowds or anything else. But like, it looks like from what I saw and researching it, there are theaters that are really getting packed in. So I'm glad people are going out to see this movie.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of the theaters that we go to right now, and there's like 1 or 2 showings, like around 7 that are packed, but for the most part, not really. And
Really?
that kind of is, it is kind of like disheartening to see, because I wish people, especially in our fucking city, I wish they would go watch this movie.
Yeah.
But
I think this movie will have more word of mouth power than anything, though, when it comes to our culture and of course the South. I think it's going to be more of word of mouth rather than people just, hey, let's go see a movie type of thing.
And it's unfortunate because they didn't get a full press tour. They didn't get to do all of that stuff, I was like, after this film, I was like, I really enjoyed Jenny Cord in this film. And I was like, damn, I was like, who's this girl? I was like, I have not seen anything from her. Apparently, she's like a supermodel. That I did not know this, because she has 44 million followers on Instagram.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I think she might have dated like a famous soccer player or something.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if that's true or not, but like everything on her social media recently is all, of course, all Blue Beetle. But she is 28, is what I learned. So it's not like she's like a young superstar that just like showed up out of nowhere. But she has 44 million followers, which is insane.
So looking at 45 million followers, she is currently only following 987. But I had told you at the end of the movie, this was her only film. I'm looking at her filmology now.
Yeah.
This is her only movie. Everything else looks like telenovelas.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. She did good in this film.
Yeah.
She did great. And I think the whole family did well. And it was funny because I think Xolo does really good in this film. Like it was very believable when he got like pissed and stuff. I believed it. And me and Clay were joking about it before the film. I don't think Timothée Chalamet is a good actor. I don't believe him in his roles.
Yeah.
And like because we saw Wonka and then we saw Dune back to back. And we're like, this fucking
the trailers,
guy? Yeah. And I just don't believe that person in the role. I feel like Chalamet might be one of those people that's like Michael Cera, you have to put them in the proper role. Because like I feel like he's trying to be a character instead of being the character.
But
If
also,
that makes sense.
Thinking about that though, and I even thought about it, literally the first scene that we see Xolo in for this movie is him getting off at the airport.
Yeah.
Is the first time you see him in this movie. And as soon as I saw him, it hit me. If Xolo hadn't become so famous for Cobra Kai, I would 100% believe that the It Boy over at Netflix for a while would have been casted as Blue Beetle, the guy that was in Black Adam.
Oh yeah, probably. I don't know what his name is, but yeah, Xolo did really good here. They did the family stuff so well, man. It was so relatable. And that's what you expect from a whole cast and crew that is Latino, right? Like you just expect it. It was rooted in that. It dealt with real issues, which I'm waiting for Twitter to be like, oh man, the fucking agenda in this movie, man, they were trying to make it out to be like, oh, white people are bad and the government, like, because it deals with real world shit. Latinos are constantly kicked out of their neighborhoods. I mean, a lot of people that are in poverty are kicked out of their neighborhoods to be gentrified, and it can be taken over by, unfortunately, a majority of the time, it's white people that have money. They come in, they build their shit, and they're like, oh, yeah, I love this place. It has so much culture, but you're fucking kicking out the people that brought it there. And that's part of the movie. Like, Cord Industries is buying up a lot of places in, what is the place? Palma?
Yeah, Palma City.
Yeah.
This is not a... well, before, it was not a city that was actually in DC's continuity. But the most recent comic, Graduation Day, actually made it canon. So that city is now canon to comics.
Yeah. And it's like in the Florida Keys, right? Like it's in that area. So very tropical-y kind of vibe. And it's like really cool. And like it shows like there's of course a big CGI city. Like that's one of the things that they did CGI was the way the city looked. And it's all skyscrapers and stuff like that. But it shows that a lot of people that are living on the other side of the tracks, as they say in the movies, are not living so well. They're trying to work out. We find out that Jaime's family, his dad had a heart attack, so he couldn't work anymore and he lost the shop. And so they're losing the house because their landlords are like, yo, you don't pay up in 3 months, like you're out.
Yeah.
And it also, there's like a Cord Industry sign in their yard. So I don't know if they're the ones that own it or what the case is. And so, you know, the one thing, if you're a Latino, the one thing you constantly, family is like really big, and you hope that you're going to get big or you're going to, you know, be successful one day so you can take care of your family. It's like you hope the next generation is always going to be better. That's how we live. And family sticks together. They had the grandma living with them. I've experienced that. Like, you know, all of this is just the whole family together. And it was just like really nice that the family fought as one, essentially.
Yeah.
And it was like really cool. And like it doesn't jump right into like Blue Beetle shit. Like it's really cool. Like they built up the family a little bit. Like, oh yeah, they helped me get a job because he was like, oh, I'm gonna be here for the family. I could have came home. And that hit really hard too. Like, because I had an instance recently where my mom wasn't feeling good, and my brother and we were taking care of my niece. And my mom wasn't feeling good, and I had to go to a soccer game for my niece in place of my parents. And I was there, and my brother was like, "Where's mom and dad?" They're like, I was like, "Oh, they had to go somewhere," because they didn't want to tell my brother because they were on vacation.
Yeah.
And they do that in this movie, like, and a lot of people might find that annoying, but it's we're caring for you. We don't want you to worry. Like we will take the burden on.
That's a really big thing with families.
Yeah.
And I think the heart of this movie is not only the Reyes family, but specifically Jaime's father.
Yes.
He is the glue that holds everybody together.
Yeah.
There's several points in this, especially in the beginning when you're learning about everything that the family's going through.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, it's okay. Like, hey, I had a heart attack, but I'm here. Like, I'm alive, you know, we're all good. And then, you know, even when they're all down in the dumps, he you know, you learn later on in the movie that he had job after job after job after job, which is also something very relatable for families like us. That's like, hey, we aren't spoon fed everything. Like you literally, like all of the, I know it's something of a debate with younger generations and everything else, but it's also something in older generations of our family are very proud of like, hey, I cleaned bathrooms for 5 years, and then I went on to, you know, work on trucks, and then from there I worked at a store, and they worked themselves up and built like a life for them. And that's the whole thing with this family is like, hey, we built this life in this house, and whatever happens, we're gonna still be together, and we're fighting through it. Very just like really down to earth stuff that really hit hard, that I absolutely love. And I don't think you would have gotten this type of story if any other person had just directed this movie.
No, I don't think they would have focused on the Latino heritage or like family life at all, which I think is really awesome. And the story that the flip side of the coin is we have the opposite side of Jenny Cord, who her father's missing, which is Ted Cord, and she's, you know, she's not being supported by her aunt because her dad was part of the company, so they have money, right? But there's one point in the movie where we find out she grew up in a mansion, and you know, Sholo, or you know, Jaime is all like, man, it must have been awesome living in the house. She was like, well, it's kind of lonely. Like, you know, my family wasn't around. Like, my mom died, and then my dad wasn't like around because he kind of like threw himself into the work. So I was kind of alone a lot of the time. And then she kind of reveals at that point, she was like, all of this is just stuff. Like, you have family. Like, you know, I didn't have that. And you kind of learn that. And one thing that happens, you know, we're skipping to the end here, because Jaime's family kind of resents Jenny because she gave him the scarab.
Yeah.
And they're like, you're bringing all this bad luck on the family. Like, you know, you're part of the problem. And obviously we have George Lopez, who's the uncle. He's like, oh, you're big corporation. You're big, you know, you're big brother.
He almost stole the show.
Yeah.
Like, he was so good in this. Like, there is two sides of George Lopez. There is the wacky side of George Lopez, and then there's the wackier side of George Lopez. It's really two sides of him, and there's nothing in between. And it wasn't so much as like the raunchy stuff that you see in his like stand-up stuff, but his classic, like, just funny George Lopez in here, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, there's one moment when he gets scared, and I'm like, I get scared like that. Like, it's so funny, dude. Like, I was like, that's me. I was like, I get that. And like, but the cool thing about it is, over the course of the movie, you find out that like they accept Jenny into her family. And that's what a lot of Latino families do. Like, you know, I've seen this on TikTok, and it's been some of my favorite videos. There was this white girl, and she was like a cosplay princess person. And she was like, the people I love going to work for the most are Latino families, because when you go over there, they treat you like fucking family. And even though I'm there to pay to do something, they're like, oh, you get a plate, mija, you have to take this, you have to do that. I'm like, that's Latino families, man. They're gonna feed you. Even if they can't afford to feed you, they're feeding you.
Yeah, and that was one of the big things in the very beginning also, when they were eating. You know, there was the joke of Jaime is like, oh man, like, at least I got my tacos, you know?
Yeah.
But at the end of their lunch, when they're tipping, the father's tipping, and the mom is like, 25%, are you crazy? He's like, hey, these people don't get paid nothing. Like, we'll worry about money later. And that's just the way our people are.
Yeah, it's like we know what work is, right? Granted, I'm a, you know, second generation born here. And like, I'm like, I don't want to fucking do that kind of job. But I'm like, it's because my family did it before me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's what I meant by like, it's a harder conversation to have with younger generations.
Yes.
Because they just don't understand. But we were there to witness it.
Yeah, they don't know the struggle, essentially. And that's not saying that they're not going to struggle and they're not going to go through stuff like that. It's just, it's different eras. That's why you kind of gotta listen a little bit. Even though your family might, maybe they do some things you don't like or whatever, we still listen and we know what they sacrificed, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what this story is. So moving on from the family aspect, the Latino stuff, everything was fucking great about this film. But the Blue Beetle stuff in itself looked great. Like, that, it's been the big talk of the town recently, is the director's been like, yeah, we went really heavy on practical effects because we didn't want to rely on VFX. And it was not, everybody's like been like praising the director because he was like, VFX are supposed to be there as a like a luxury. They're not a dependency or something like that.
Yeah, you shared the quote in the actual Discord. I'm actually gonna pull it up.
And so like, that was really cool. Let's see, do you have it?
He said that VFX is a tool, not a dependency.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And so that is so true for everything in this movie. Like, there are clear things that you're like, okay, that is VFX.
Yeah.
But there's some things in here I'm like, was that practical or was that VFX? Everything with the Blue Beetle, when he is standing still, when there is moments where you can actually see the details on his face, that is a practical suit. That is not CGI'd whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's not like how they
looks fantastic.
Yeah, it's not how they do the Iron Man suit now. It's how they did the Iron Man suit in the first movie, which was practical.
Yeah. And I hope they stick with that. And it seems like this director has a good head on his shoulders and would stick with that if we do get a Blue Beetle 2.
Yeah.
And like, it was just really cool, man. And they didn't try to be like, we have to have crazy fights. Like, it has to be insane. Like, no, they showed this is what would happen if your body got taken over by an alien, right? Like, they
Yeah.
had to do some reboot systems, which everybody's already seen that in the trailer. It's the splitting the bus and all that stuff. And then they have to figure out like what's going on. And so that's when we kind of find out that, Jenny and, George Lopez is basically the third character or maybe fourth character besides Susan Sarandon in this movie. And he's tagging along and driving them everywhere. Like, oh, we got to go figure out how to do this. And he's also kind of a genius that we learned that. But, you wouldn't know that from the way he looks. And so he helps them like break into Ted Industries to kind of get the key that they need to go find out, to basically go to the Blue Beetle cave.
Yeah.
And so they do all this, shenanigans happen. We see the first fight between him and the villain of the movie on the streets. And that's kind of like a funny moment, with, George Lopez like swinging his truck around and fucking shooting this thing
that
out.
was wild, man.
But it's like pretty cool. The fights are, pretty cool. And this is the one thing that I think a lot of people aren't going to talk about, but I loved that they actually fucking did it in the movie. They made the not killing be part of the story.
Yeah.
Because everybody just assumes that. Well, not at Marvel. They fucking kill everybody. Like, Marvel kills everybody. Granted, the Reyes family has some blood on their hands.
Dude, we were cracking up at that part. Oh my god.
We'll talk about that in a little bit. But they got some blood on their hands.
Oh, for sure.
So anyways, which I think is very funny that we're talking about Jaime not killing though. But so Jaime is he's getting his ass beat and the Scarab's like, "Can I take over? Because like I can help you and I can save you." And he's like, "Yeah, go take control." And so the Scarab takes control and he starts beating the ass of this person. And so like, let me show you how it's done, Jaime, and like starts fucking beating this guy's ass. And then he gets kind of unconscious, or he gets like not his bell rung. And that's when George Lopez saves them, and then they kind of take off or whatever. And so, but he has the chance to kill this villain. Like that's the Scarab wants to kill this person. Like, we need to neutralize the strain. He's like, no, we don't do that. We don't do that. We don't kill. Like, we don't kill. And the Scarab's like, command accepted. And so it's starting to learn over the course of the film that it's like, okay, we don't do these things, which I think is kind of cool. It's very subtle. It's not like I've learned new programming. It's not like that.
It's not like that, but it's also this undertone story of like, we all know what like other people who hate Mexicans think that we are. Yeah. And I think that's one of the big like undertone stories is like, hey, Jaime is not going to kill because that is something that is probably expected from him. So so he's not going to do it. And I really do dig that. There was this point where we kind of are jumping all over the place, but near the end, there's this moment where he is fighting a whole bunch of people and they're about to neutralize him again. They're like, no, remember, we don't kill. And it went from a lethal weapon and changed it to a non-lethal weapon and then started to shoot off. And I thought that was cool.
Yeah. I think, was that when he was saving his family? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
When he's like chaining them to the walls and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool. Yeah, I don't know, man. I love that that does happen throughout the movie, and skipping to the very end, stuff happens to Jaime. Like he thinks that his uncle's dead, and so he goes like Super Saiyan mode essentially. Yeah, and he does like a big Kamehameha kind of thing.
Dude, I almost thought he said it.
Yeah, that would have been awesome.
Second, I thought he said it.
So what's funny? I thought, because there's this point when they go and they get I don't know if there's a name for the Blue Beetle mobile. Like, I don't know if there's a name for it, but it gets spray painted on because of the sister spray paints something on there, which I think was kind of silly, but she spray paints what I thought said anime for the longest time. I thought it said, I was like, damn, she must be a big weeb to spell anime, but it was amino. Yeah. So it's soul in English. And so I was like, oh, I had to look that up afterwards because I was like, did it say anime? I was like, why did she spray paint that? But it was amino. But I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, he does go kind of like, crazy Super Saiyan. And he has the chance to kill this guy, and the Scarab actually stops him at the end of the movie and is like, we don't kill. Like, because at this point, there's this moment in the movie where the Scarab and Jaime finally sync up and they become one, and symbiote or whatever. Like, but
they become symbiotic. Yeah,
symbiotic. There you go. And so, like, so the Scarab actually has learned not to kill, and they're like, we don't do that, and that's what happens. And so it was like a classic anime moment where, you know, the good guy doesn't kill. The good guy like changes like the bad guy to being like, you got to remember where you come from. Like, this isn't, you know, the bad stuff, and things get better and whatnot. And so it was like really cool. I really enjoyed that, instead of like, oh yeah, let's just kill all the bad guys, you know, or like, oh yeah, everybody ends up dying or whatever. Like, it was a hero trying to be a hero. And I liked that. And of course, Susan Sarandon played a good villain in this. She was a bitch.
Dude, that poor dude, man. Yeah. Sanchez.
Yeah, Sanchez. Dude, he reminds me of one of my friends so much. I'm going to be like, dude, you got to go watch this movie because it reminds me of you so much. Sanchez was funny. He did seem like the kind of person that was pushed over, which that is something that a lot of people think Latinos are too. A lot of people think Latinos are pushed over. And so like, and that was a lot of disrespect that they showed that in this thing too, that a lot of people, Jaime goes to go do an interview at Court Industries, and the white receptionist there is like, Jamie, you can sit down, Jamie. He's like, it's Jaime. Okay, Jamie. And it's like, it's Jaime. All right, Jamie, we'll be right with you. And it's like, a lot of people listening to this, if you're not Latino, you might think that we're just making that up. That fucking happens. Yeah. People fucking do that, and they don't want to take the time to learn your name, so they just say it the way they want. And if it's a friend and like we're on those terms, fuck it, go for it. Like, if we're friends, I always made like when at my old job, everybody had a nickname. I said everybody's name different or weird, but it's because I knew them. We were cool. We would eat together. That's how it was. But like, people genuinely do that. Like, I've had that happen to me before. So like, if you think that they're over exaggerating that shit happens 100%. And like that lady, like Susan Sarandon's character, you know, what was her name? Vanessa Cord? Was it Vanessa Cord? Victoria.
Is it Vanessa or Victoria?
I think it's Victoria. It might be Victoria. It's a V name for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, she just kept calling him Sanchez. She's like, oh yeah, Sanchez. Like, and you know, there's a cool moment when he finally stands up for himself, which I think is really cool. And so, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, there was some silliness in the movie. Like, there's definitely does happen.
The bug farting.
Yeah, that was very childish. There was like probably another moment. I love that the sister gets basically a Game Boy glove as her weapon.
Yeah, the Nintendo glove, the power glove. Yeah.
Power glove, there you go. And like it has like weapons and stuff like that. But like there's very subtle things where like the sister starts to like Jenny over time because she thinks Jenny's a bad person at first. She's like, she's a cord dude, they're all bad. And so she's very like anti-government. And that kind of happens in Latino families. And it's not always for the best. You know, sometimes the younger generation does listen to the older generation and picks up their bad habits.
And honestly, just due to like, we watched the trailer for this and we had a whole discussion about the comment, oh, Batman's a fascist.
Yeah.
Knowing how George Lopez's character is in context, that makes so much more sense.
100%. And I like that he also thinks he's a fascist because he actually really likes Ted Kord. He was Ted Kord was cool because he was funny or he had a sense of humor. And so, like, I was like, oh, that's cool, you know? Where Batman is very brooding, he's serious, and it's his way or the highway, you know?
Yeah.
And so it makes sense on why, you know, in context, why he says that. And there is no Batman cameo or anything like that, by the way.
Yeah, the whole idea of, like, there being a cameo in here was sitting in the back of my mind. I'm like, well, it has to happen eventually.
Yeah.
And there just isn't one. Yeah. So that they were lying about that.
Jumping over to our spoiler chat real quick, though, Jan says, I heard there's references to Man of Steel a few times. Was there? I didn't pick up on them if there was.
I don't believe there was.
Yeah, so I don't remember hearing anything like that. There's really no references to the outside of Blue Beetle, to be honest. Yeah. Like, yeah, they say Batman, but...
And I think that was on purpose. And the director has said that in interviews. They said, we were good at staying, you know, in our lane. So that way, if they want to pick it up for the new DCU, they can.
I don't understand how Gunn could watch that film and not just say that is the first DCU film.
Honestly,
because
in all honesty, nothing
hurts it.
I understand the idea of like Superman has to be the first movie. Like there's that idea. But in all reality, when you are looking at, because there's a lot of conversation and a lot of talk of Ted Kord in this movie.
Yeah.
There's even a moment where you see a portrait of him, a painting, but the painting is very blurry.
Yeah.
They don't show his face. And so there is room to, like, you can legit look at this movie and say, this is the first DCU movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I would see that. The director is even saying this is coming from Home of DC. Soto, which is the director, says, there's also a belief in our characters who are going to be a part of the new DC universe, especially Sholo's character and his whole family, and Jenny Cord's character. Bruna, I think is her name. I would butcher Marquezine. I believe I'm butchering the last names. Even though I'm Latino, I butcher other Latino names. I'm sorry. So knowing that they're going to continue moving forward in the DCU allowed me to feel relief for myself and for them. I want to see them continue. Like, I want a trilogy. I think this family is funny. I don't think we got the full potential of the grandma.
Oh no, I don't think we did either.
The grandma has a lot of story to be told.
Yeah, the Nana or
Nana.
Nani or
It's Nana,
I think it's
I believe.
Nana. She was wild because like, for one, she is kind of like the subtle comedic relief in here. Like there's George Lopez, but like I love the subtlety of like the ignorance is bliss in the very big, like in the first part of the movie, to the point of like she's nitty gritty. Like when they stormed the castle type of thing, and we find out that she was part of the revolution. Like, that is great.
Yeah.
Like Jaime's sister is like, how do you know how to carry that gun? She's like, oh, mija, there's things you don't know about me at all.
The mom's like, we'll have to talk about your grandma's past at some point. And she has a thing where like she lets her hair down so she looks like a revolucion, you know? And like, it's just really funny. And she has a Gatling gun, for us describing it. But it's pretty funny. Like, but speaking of that, right? So Xolo, Jaime gets captured at one point after he saves his family from their house being burned down because Victoria Cord, or Vanessa Cord, I don't remember. It's Susan Sarandon's character, is going after the Blue Beetle scarab. And so she, of course, threatens the family. And while this is happening,
Victoria Cord. I needed to look it up. It's Victoria.
Okay, Victoria. So Victoria is there, and she wants to test out the scarab. So she's like, go ahead and like target the family. So he protects his family. And what ends up happening is, as he's trying to defend them, he's like, run. The dad falls down, or the sister gets shot or falls down, and like the dad tries to save her. He ends up getting hurt and ends up having a heart attack while Jaime is trying to fight off Victoria Cord. And got a little teary-eyed up in there, got a little watery in the eyes there.
Yeah,
he couldn't save his dad.
Yeah, it's one of these moments, and it's a very classic moment for superhero films, but mainly most iconically for Superman. The whole idea of like, oh, I have all these powers, there's nothing I could do to save him.
Yeah.
And Jaime was literally in the act of saving him when it all happened, to the point where the AI of the scarab, you see him look down at his sister and his dad, and you see her with a life signal with a heartbeat, and you see him outlined in red, signalizing, he's dead.
Yeah, cardiac arrest on it.
Yeah.
And like, you're like, oh, the Beetle can easily save him. But then he gets captured and can't do anything. And you're just seeing all the families saying, help us. And he's being taken away. And I was just like, God damn. I was
that hurt, man.
Yeah. And then there's this montage of him being taken away, and then the whole family's just like crying in agony, and they're like trying to shock him alive. And like in the montage, you just start seeing them all crying, insinuating that he died.
Yeah.
And you're like, that fucking sucks. And so that was like really tough. And like he's, there's this moment when he is captured and he is dying essentially because they're trying to take the scarab off of him or transfer the power. And he meets his dad, like essentially in the afterlife.
Yeah.
And there's this story that's going on between the dad and the son, or Jaime, that he's like, what's your purpose, dad? What's your destiny? He's like, I don't know yet. I'm still trying to figure it out. And when he meets him in this other world, he's like, this is my destiny, to be here for you, to let you know that you're not ready. Like, you don't need to be here and I'm going to be fine. And so that's when the Blue Beetle finally syncs up with Jaime and they become one. This is when Sanchez becomes a hero too, which I think is really cool. And this starts the big fight sequence towards the end, which I think is really cool. And this is when before that, we had the family storm the castle with the Blue Beetle mobile. And this is when we see the family start getting blood on their hands because they crash land and they're like, we got to do something. And they make the legs come out of the beetle and they just start stomping. And like at first, it's kind of like the Batmobile in Arkham where they just brush everybody to the side. So they're not killing
it legitimately looks like the legs are just like throwing them into the air. And so you're assuming they're just like falling back onto the ground. And you're like, okay, whatever. But there's one point specifically where one of the legs legitimately stabs a dude's stomach. And then when the leg comes back up, it's still attached to the guy. And me and Juice freaked the fuck out. We're like, oh my god.
Because there's no way that guy is alive. Like, he is dead. And like it just like shakes him off and then just keeps moving. And I'm like, bro, he just stomped on that guy and he died. And so that happens. And then like when they're going inside, like the sister and Jenny Cord are in there, they're gonna go find Blue Beetle. And so they're doing their thing. They get into some trouble, they get separated. And the sister is like about to die because she's in trouble. That's when Blue Beetle shows up, saves her, and they're about to get in some trouble. And then the grandma shows up and she Gatling guns some people.
Yeah.
And then like she's all like, stand behind me, mijo. And then like a whole bunch of them comes, she's like, ah, she's like, die imperialist. Like, it's like, holy shit. And so granted, you could argue the grandma might not have blood on her hands because that is a Ted Cord weapon, so it's probably non-lethal.
Yeah,
could argue that. That one guy died though. George Lopez killed somebody.
Oh, dude! And not only that, but there's a moment where Jenny and the sister are planting these bombs.
Oh yeah.
In the reactor room to basically just make the island lose power. That's their only intention. But one of the guards literally gets like face to face to one of these bombs, like trying to look at it to see what it is. And it blows up right in his face and he like falls back. I'm like, that dude's dead.
Yeah.
That dude was involved in flames.
Batman showed me that you could eat C4. So he might be okay. He actually had a full set of armor that covered his face, I think.
That is true too.
So he might be fine. But yeah, so there's a lot of questionable possible kills by the Reyes family in this movie. There's a lot of fun parts that we're not telling you about. Like George Lopez has a truck in here that he really loves and it gets
the
fucked
taco.
Up. Yeah, the taco. I thought that was kind of a stupid name. I think you could have come up with a better name than the taco. Unless they would have shaped it like a taco, that would have been funny. Or he should have had like taco logos on it or something. But anyways, there is that part. There's some funny shenanigans with George Lopez's character. And then, towards the end, like there's this big battle. That's when you kind of see it in the trailers when he has the big sword and stuff like that. And it's kind of like what we already talked about where, he wants to kill this character because he thinks George Lopez's character died and he's going all out. And they kind of have this heart to heart. And then we learn about the villain. This is very anime. Anime does this thing where right before the villain's going to die, you learn about their past and why they became a villain. And so you learn that from this one guy and you find out that Victoria is the reason why he's so shitty.
Yeah.
Like, because she found him as a kid and made him a weapon.
Like the way you felt through the movie, you think he is just one military asshole.
Yeah.
Is basically the vibe that you're getting.
Yeah.
And throughout the entire movie, he has this little trinket, this locket that has a picture of a woman and a child.
Yeah.
And again, you assume that was his wife and his son, and he's probably doing all of this to remember them or whatnot. And you come to find out that's his mother and him. That was a locket that was owned by his mother.
Mm-hmm.
And we find out that his house was bombed by Cord Industries, by Victoria.
Yeah.
He was then picked up as a child and made into a child soldier from the beginning. Because we did learn Ted Industries was founded by Cord Industries was founded by Ted's father.
Yeah.
And his sister Victoria helped her father kind of build up a military industry.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Ted's father died, Victoria thought she was going to be getting the company, but instead it was given to Ted. And even when Jaime found that out, he's like, it's kind of sexist, right? Like, if he kind of wanted nothing to do with all of this military stuff, why would his father give it to him? And that's when Jenny was like, yeah, it was. But it was good because he wanted to change Ted or Cord Industries into something to better the world instead of, make it worse. And so we learn that, Victoria is bad to the core, like in all ways. And so I love the mirroring of the way when Jaime saw his father in the afterlife, he was like, it's not time. Like, go be the Blue Beetle. Like, go save our family. Whereas when we see the soldier essentially become Omak, when he is facing Victoria at the very end, he sees his mother and she says, it's time, like, come home. And so his suit starts to build up power and go into like basically self-destruct mode. And he grabs Victoria and walks into the flame that was the helicopter that they were in, and he blows up the entire island.
Yeah. And it was pretty cool. And then, they all go off into, they fly away on the Bugmobile. And then after that, we get to see like just kind of the aftermath of the movie. We find they get kind of a happy ending. George Lopez gets a new truck that Jenny gave him. Jenny says that they're moving away from weapons. They're not going to be doing that anymore. And she believes in the people. There is a specific part of the city. They didn't say Palma City or whatever, but a specific part. I forget what they called it. They're like, we're going to believe in that, the people that made that area, and we're going to invest in them. And so she basically says, you're getting your house back. Like, we'll rebuild everything for you and all that kind of stuff. And so, like, there's also this one moment where, her, like, throughout the whole movie, Jaime's all like, you think she likes me? Like, she's cool? Because, like,
oh, she's single? Like, all of these things. Yeah.
So it's like, definitely a boy who has a crush the whole time. And then at the end of the movie, like, they almost kiss once or twice. And then it finally happens at the end of the movie. And he's all like, she's like, I got to go, back to my old house. And he's like, I can drive you there. I can fly you there. And then so, like, which is funny because throughout the whole movie too, like, Latino families rag on you during your like most sentimental moments or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? So they're about to kiss and they're like, "Ooh, look at you," like, so they're making fun of him. He's like, and then he turns on the Blue Beetle suit and they fly away kissing together or whatever, which is very superhero cheesy ending. But like we said a few podcasts ago, superheroes comics are soap operas with powers.
Yeah, but not only that, like, we never had the chance to say a Mexican had that ending, and now we can.
Yeah. And it's huge.
And for me, one of the ongoing gags in this movie was like the sister first makes a reference to a telenovela. And it's like, oh, Jaime, you're this character and she's this character, and like you're her secret lover, and like all of this stuff. And even the grandmother makes that reference later on. And the sister's like, that's what I said. And they all start going in on the joke. Like, I love that kind of thing. Just because it shows how connected the family is.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think overall, really enjoyed the film. Wasn't like 10 out of 10 amazing film. It wasn't anything like that, but I really enjoyed it. I could be around the 7.58 range for me personally. I think that's a good spot for it. I don't think I've given anything a 9 or 10 in a really long time. Oppenheimer's probably a 9, actually, to be honest, but that's different superhero wise. But yeah, I don't know, man. I really love this. I do think I heard a lot of people saying it was a love letter to Latino culture. And like, I don't know if it's necessarily a love. I mean, I guess you could say that is our culture, right? Family.
Yeah.
But I would just say it's like a love letter to Latino families, you know? Now, granted, I also know that there's probably a lot of people that would see this film as Latinos and be like, my family wasn't like that, you know? Because not everybody has a great upbringing, you know?
Yeah.
But I think if you did have a family that was loving and was similar to that, you'll relate to this movie a lot. And that's definitely something I related to. And the crazy thing is, this is only like the family that lives in their house. Like, they didn't have extended family there. Because when you have extended family,
Well,
this shit's
the one thing that I
crazier.
did love at the very end of the movie, like you saw like the neighborhood come together.
Yeah.
And then like the next scene is like everybody has drinks, everybody has
Mhm.
food. It's like, yep, that's exactly how it would go.
Yeah, because you know, the Latino family, everybody does potlucks. Everybody's like, I'm gonna cook this, and everybody brings something.
Yeah.
And every family member has a signature dish. Like somebody has
Mhm.
the cheese dip, somebody does the brisket, somebody does that. And
Abby
this is
has
kind of
become the person that brings the dessert.
yeah. So like that's just kind of how it is. Like my aunt makes this like weird broccoli raisin type of stuff, and like, you know, it doesn't sound good, but it tastes fucking delicious. Like I'm just like, the first time I had it, I'm like, what is this? And it's like, you know how you, to be courteous, you always get like a scoop of
Just like a
something.
little bit.
Yeah, and I like got it, and then I ate it, and I was like, yo, this is good. And like now she makes it every time she comes over here because she's like, oh, you actually liked it? I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, that shit's dope.
Nice.
So that's really nice. But like, yeah, dude, this was just, yeah, I mean, to copy what people said, it's a love letter to Latino culture. And I think it's really cool to say we fucking finally have a superhero. And
Yeah.
George Lopez even says that in the fucking movie. He's like, oh, dude, like, you're a superhero. Like, we got somebody now. Like, you know, like, that's cool. And so, like, I hope he is a big part of the future of the DCU going forward, because I think you can do a lot with him. And even if they don't, at least give him a trilogy. Like, I'll be satisfied with a trilogy.
Yeah.
But I would love to see him fighting alongside Batman and stuff. Like, that would be really cool. I hope more people see this, man. It's unfortunate. I think the writer strikes really fucked this movie, which is unfortunate. I agree with what they're fighting for. It's just,
Yeah.
it sucks. The one time a Latino superhero hears, it can't do the promo, it can't do any of that kind of shit. Which was one thing we didn't talk about. James Gunn was promoting this movie. Is that not like against the rules?
I think he has like special, like he's also like a CEO. Like
Yeah.
like,
I mean, his job's secure, so it's like, oh, you're gonna really kick me out of my job, you know? Like,
yeah.
but I do, because he's been really respectful of the whole thing, but I don't know if he gets like permission. Because like they said you can go watch movies, but like influencers shouldn't promote movies. But like,
Yeah, like
I don't
it's
understand what's
very
happening.
I would love to see what the conditions are
Yeah.
to somebody like a James Gunn.
Yeah. So, because yeah, I'm pretty sure, because a lot of people, like, I just looked at, Jenny Court, I forget her name, Bruna, I think. She was promoting the hell out of it, like, with like, just photos and stuff from set or whatever. And I think she had a birthday recently, so they gave her a Blue Beetle cake. And
Oh,
like,
really?
yeah,
Oh,
she,
wait, I think I saw that Blue Beetle cake. Yeah.
yeah. So, well, I don't know if you're thinking about the Blue Beetle cake that looked like Blue Beetle, not that one. This
Oh,
was just
okay,
like a
not that one.
simple,
Okay.
you got it, like, 2-tier cake that was Blue Beetle. But she looked like she knows some like people. Like, so she's definitely was like a supermodel before acting. She had to have been. Or dated somebody really popular or something, because nobody gets 44 million followers out of nowhere for nothing. And she's like been on Vogue and shit. So I think she's like a supermodel. She's a gorgeous woman. I was just
Yeah.
very shocked that she was 28. I was like, oh, damn. That seems like old for Hollywood, right? Like, usually when somebody gets a starring role, like, they're like 22 years old.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I want to see this this family continue. I want to see this series continue. Sholo, I've never seen him in anything, so he's a great actor. There was some parts in this I was like, damn, like I felt the intensity in this. And yeah, practical suits all the way, by the way. Like it looks so good. It looks so good. And I want to see more of that. And I hope that's what James Gunn's doing. He's like, we're going practical, like for everything.
Yeah.
We got one more DCEU movie to go through. And then everything after that, if it still bombs, it's all on James Gunn. So
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. We'll be doing our next review will be in December for Aquaman, which that comes out on Christmas. Are we seeing it Christmas Day?
I don't know if we're gonna be able to see it Christmas Day, but I can try to, probably honestly, if it's still, we could probably get away with seeing it Christmas Eve.
If it's early.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does it come out? Is Christmas on a Friday this year?
Christmas this year, looking at
because sometimes they'll do like 2 days early. So like Wednesday.
No, Christmas is on a Monday this year.
Why does it come out on a Monday? That's so fucking weird.
Just because it's a holiday. Like genuinely, I think that's the only reason why.
You think it'll come out on Sunday? No, it's gonna have to come out on Monday, right? Like it's gonna be Monday. That sucks. We'll probably have to see it Tuesday then.
I think there is the slightest possibility that it'll have a 2-week advance ticket thing.
That would be nice if we could get that.
If it's as bad as people are saying, and if WB is worried at all about its successfulness, I think they'll push like a 2-week advance screening.
Yeah. I don't know, man. We'll see what happens. I really want this movie to be successful, but I'm not holding my breath. I think hopefully people will start going to watch it. But we'll see. It's only got to make what, like 200 something million to be profitable, maybe.
Yeah.
Because I doubt they spent a lot on marketing because, they didn't get to do anything.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this podcast. Clay, what do you got going on this week, man?
As of right now, if you guys go to Star Wars Alliance, you can go check out the retrospective of season 4 of Rebels on our road to Ahsoka. We reviewed that. We also have our predictions for the Ahsoka show, which is premiering next week. So go check that out. And then, of course, go watch the show on Wednesday. But that is it for me.
Nice. I've just been streaming a lot lately. I've been really busy with my job. But yeah, slowly and surely working on the new channel, and that'll hopefully be out pretty soon. Well, not pretty soon, but hopefully. That's what I'm trying to do. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it. As always, he is Fanboy Clay. I am Juice Wayne. And remember, Batman is awesome.